Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tomato Sauce stream. Today we have so much to talk about. We have leaks, we have all sorts of really cool, I guess, bits and bobs for everything. We've got, a new structure deck, potentially a new world, which is looking very, very likely, although I have been speaking to some people that thinks it's a little bit less likely, but it seems to be pointing in Go Rush direction, so that would be quite exciting. We have a new speed box that does look very, very enticing, especially if you're a fan of either like Albaz and Dogmatica stuff, which I am, or you're a big fan of the Arc V archetypes, which I really like Arc V, I must say. Lyrilusk and, Wind Witch? Not my favourite archetypes, but I do really like Arc V. I do tend to really like all the Arc V decks and all the Arc V characters, so we're definitely going to give them a go at the very least, because we're going to go into this box either way, because I want those Albaz and Dogmatica cards. So, pretty big news all around. And if we have time later, after we finish talking about everything, we will be playing some Speed, because Rush is like in a good spot. I'm enjoying Rush right now, but we have been in the same meta now for about a month, so I think I'm looking to get back into Speed, and it has actually been like an actual month since we played Speed. We did play a little bit on one of Grand's streams. We entered in the tournament beta mode, and we did okay in that with our Fluffle list, so you know, we'll try and get back into the swing of things. But let's see who we have in today. We have Draco Kid, welcome on in. We have Duel Links Alpha, Sakadetsu, hello my friend. We have Grand Harrier, welcome on in. Acceleration Gate is also here. We have Pixie Coco with the first deceleration for Celestial Beta. Sakadetsu, where is Tomato? I need him to make salsa. Oh, please don't make salsa out of me. I'm not sure I would enjoy that very much. We'll put a pin in that. We might come back to that. So Dragson comes in. What's this about Go Rush? Yes, we have had Go Rush leaked. It is in the files. And this is probably one of the first things we should actually talk about is it's, in my opinion, it's like 95% we're getting Go Rush, right? But some of the data miners that I have spoken to are kind of a little bit doubtful. And that's just because of like a few different factors. But I think it's almost assuredly Go Rush, right? I think it's a little bit coped to be like it's probably not Go Rush, but there is always a chance, right? Until something gets officially announced, we don't actually know. We have Pro Manicist. We don't know. It's a speculation. Who that guy, that talking? Ooh, yeah, who could that be? I wish to get some My Zero Gem Rush deck need updates. I mean, getting some free stuff's always nice, and we're getting what, the like free packs, which would be quite nice for the Zero Gems. We have Sandwich. Okay. Birds and Witches. Oh, hello, Ursus. Welcome on in. Snazzy black shirt, sir. I mean, yeah, we're rocking the shirt today. Just might be off introducing Galaxy and Fusion at the same time. Maybe Fusion about a month later. Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. I would expect Fusion to be a little bit delayed if we get Go Rush World, which, again, almost certainly getting Go Rush World. So I would expect it to be, you know, a couple months maybe. Maybe just before the end of the year would make sense for Fusions. Is that Duan in the chat with the 20 stream streak? Welcome. And we also have Zaki Boys with the 7 stream streak. We heckin' love more birds and witches. I mean, who doesn't love birds and witches? Why am I not getting streak? I don't know, Manicist. I don't know what you've done, but something is wrong with your Twitch account. Hi, Dwan. Is that Atlas I see in the chat? I'm here for Tier 0 Sidra. Unfortunately, that's probably going to take a while. The structure deck we're getting really ain't it. This is going to be probably awful, right? And when I say that, I don't mean just the deck itself is going to be awful, because it probably will be. What I mean is, they might be gating Cyber Dragons behind a paywall, because you'll want the Cyber Dragons later, because Cyber Dragons will eventually be really, really strong. I don't think this structure we're going to get is going to be particularly good. But again, we're going to want those cards eventually, so we'll probably just have to go into this box just to pick them up, which is very frustrating, but it's Konami things. They could have just implemented it in, but might hold off releasing it. Like, what specifically have the data miners been saying that it's just not adding up? So again, going off memory, without like going back and scrolling through all of the chat that I've been seeing, a couple of the guys have been saying stuff like, we've gotten a bunch more Sevens characters IDs that you usually wouldn't have in this kind of update. So they are kind of leaning towards, okay, we might not be getting the update, but this might be a placeholder for later sort of thing. And I keep seeing the phrase like, the intern messed up get thrown around a lot, but they can't decide what part of it is the intern messing up. Is it the fact that the Go Rush ID is there, or is it the fact that we've got all the extra like Sevens characters stuff going on? Thank you for the follow, Colby. Welcome on in. So again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I am paraphrasing and going off memory, because again, there's just so much chat that I have to scroll through to find the exact quotes. But again, it's almost certain, right? It's almost certain. We've data mined it. We found the code, right? It's in there. We have a line of code specifically specifying that there is, what is it, World 9 or World 10 or whatever it is, and that it is Go Rush. So as far as we know, we should just assume that it's coming out. But again, there might be a tiny amount of doubt. We'll have to see what happens there. Has watched for 0 hours, probably. I wish one Cyber Dragon structure will be for free. I mean, we don't know that it won't yet. So maybe we'll get one for free. That would be nice. A Cyber Dragon without Assault or Search is weird. Yes, it is very, very weird. We're getting what? Grand Cerberus, which is such a strange boss. Grand Cerberus has basically never done anything. It was in a burn deck that existed for a bit and managed to win like 2 tournaments ever, and is a bit naff. That's about it. Drags him with the 25 streak. Nice. Good job, buddy. Zaki Boy's not gonna lie, I'm more hype for the Gradle in the new box. Gradle is such a weird one. So I've only ever played against Gradle in limited, right? So like, you know, cracking packs either from that one generation or, you know, not having access to the entire card pool. So I've never played with them like in a competitive environment. But Gradle's always just very frustrating. It's a very annoying archetype to like play against. I've never been a huge fan, but you know, me too. Can't wait to sack people with Kaiju Gradles. That was another thing. I did a limited, not really series because we didn't record it or anything, but I played limited with some of my friends, and one of them actually built Kaiju Gradles in limited, and it is so just annoying to play against. It's not necessarily like crazy strong, or at least it wasn't, but it was very frustrating. You have to like play around in very specific ways. Also, Dimensional Wall, new supports for burn. Cyber Dragon with light machines, I call it now. I mean, if it's limit 3, which it looks like it's going to be, it's not really going to work that way. We'll have to see. I see you are a man of culture. Thank you for following. We have the LOL. October huge update in Tag Duel PvP. A free copy of Cyber Structure has been leaked, I thought. I haven't seen that specifically. I'm not sure how that would get leaked. It's a bit of a weird one. Do we have any Earth machines in Rush? Right now, we have a couple of normal monsters and Craft the Drone. So, technically, yes. Going forward, if we do get the Go Rush stuff, we will get more Earth machines, and there are plenty of Earth machines that exist in Sevens that we just haven't had released yet, such as the, what was he called? Printing Presser, I think it is, which was like the news archetype, like the paper, school paper archetype, which was a weird one. October huge update in Tag Duel Trust. I mean, that would be kind of hype, not gonna lie. I kind of like that more than anything else. Shove your 25 streak. Respect fully. I just hope it will be DLM website. Quick subscribing with Prime. Welcome on in, Quicks. Happy September. Oh, it's September, isn't it? I always forget that September is even a thing. Like, it's generally not even relevant to me because we didn't even really start streaming like properly, like consistently, until Thingy came out, until Rush Duel Links came out, which I believe was right at the end of September.
Subscribed with Prime. Happy September.
Thank you for the sub. Really appreciate that, Quicks. Really do appreciate that. 30% off new subs. I see. But getting back on topic. What were we talking about? We were talking about DLM website says a campaign for a free copy has been leaked. Ah, okay. Okay. Well, speaking of, let's hop over. And let's take a quick gander at what's going on there. So we have the prediction campaign. I don't think this is going to have much in it. This is just going to be like you're getting what you're getting, which is nice, you know. The other thing is I do kind of want to talk about worlds in a bit, but I suppose we'll do that after we talk about the leaks. And the other thing that we want to talk about as well is going to be tier list update, because it doesn't love a tier list update, right? So Infernoble Knight gets bumped up. That's pretty cool, right? Infernoble is pretty strong. I'm going to assume this is going to be the Infernoble Fleur build, right? Because the Fleur build just seems stronger, but again, take anything I say about speed with a pinch of salt. We are a rush channel, right? We are a rush guy. We do rush. If I say something about rush, it's at the very least, you know, it has some sort of, what's the word, like, I'm going to have some sort of evidence behind it. I'm going to have some sort of experience behind it. When it's speed, it's, I've played against some of these decks sometimes, and I've watched some speed tournaments. I am not obviously going to be a paragon of information about this. Let's get rid of that. We will one Sidra game together. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to get one with gems, but are you going to want to spend gems? That's obviously going to be the issue. Yes, Infernoble and hi, welcome, Beam. So, Infernoble Knight, I do think this is kind of a cool deck. I think the whole, like, Immortal Phoenix Gearfried combo is kind of cool. The only thing I don't really like about this, personally, is the, what is it, Guardian Axe Growl part of the deck. I think that's the only bit I'm not a huge fan of. So if we click into this, so yeah, this is what I'm not a big fan of. The whole just, like, Floodgate part of the deck, I'm not a huge fan of that. The rest of it, I think, is really, really cool. I think that Phoenix Gearfried is a really, really cool boss monster. I don't even hate the Fleur engine. Like, I think it works quite nicely in here. I quite enjoy watching this deck. I'm quite happy with this getting bumped up personally. It's cool until they equip Metal Silver and Growl. Yeah, Metal Silver is a card I haven't seen too much of this. I've definitely seen a ton of Growl. I haven't been seeing much of Metal Silver in just the games that I've been watching. But yeah, I can understand, right? Basically, it's sort of a Floodgate, sort of a Towersy type card. It's a bit weird. Growl is just straight up, cannot change battle positions, which, again, in Duel Links, does get awkward, especially since a lot of cards in Duel Links, a lot of effects. I don't know if this comes up too much, but when you use an effect to cheat something out, like a skill, it basically puts it face down defense and then says, but you can still change its battle position. But you can't, because Growl's on the field. So I'm going to assume that's, like, the biggest issue with this. But, like, in general, just, like, slapping down a Floodgate doesn't seem, like, super exciting to me. Then we got Sacred Beast gets bumped up. I'm not a big fan of Sacred Beast. I'm not a huge fan. It's not really my cup of tea, personally. But, you know, if everyone else is enjoying it, that's great. 100% fuck Floodgates. I mean, that's my take. I think there is going to be some people that really like Floodgates, but I've personally never been a big fan. The one card I really want to see gone at the moment is God, what is it called? The Lingering Floodgate Xyz monster that I actually play in my deck. I can just look it up. I have it in my deck right now. Abyss Dweller, that's the one. I don't know why my brain just completely shut down there, but yeah, Abyss Dweller is the one where I'm like, we could just get rid of this card. We don't need Abyss Dweller. But the only issue with getting rid of Abyss Dweller is it's like graveyard decks can become a bit rampant, but like, I don't know, every deck I play just loses to Abyss Dweller, so maybe I'm very biased. Get a Whale and Sidra get FK'd. But not gonna lie, playing Wicked Lock and hating Metal Silver is ironic, though. I mean, it's always gonna be, I think most players are always going to be my deck based, your deck cringe. That's just always going to be a thing. And you're always going to be less... And again, I'm not necessarily saying that's what it is, but like I will always have that opinion of the decks that I play are really, really cool. The decks that you play are really, really bad because I don't know, I'm only human, right? I I think you generally are more tolerant to some things than others. So, for example, I had a friend when Master Duel came out who would play exclusively Eldritch. And the reason was that he played back when Yu-Gi-Oh! First came out. He played up until like Synchro era. And so he hadn't adjusted to like these really fast combo decks. So just playing, you know, just playing a basic Unga Bunga, floodgate your opponent, play 1-for-1 traps, really suited him. And then whenever I would be like, oh, I don't like floodgates, his retort would be, well, what's the difference between a floodgate that doesn't let you play the game and your opponent setting up 6 negates that doesn't let you play the game? And for me, the difference is you can play through 6 negates. Well, yeah, it's a bit hyperbolic. Sometimes it's a lot more, sometimes it's a lot less. But you can play through a board. When it comes to a floodgate, typically it's like, do you just have the out or don't you? And I think that's the difference. When you can play through your opponent's interruptions, and let's say they're like 4 or 5 interruptions, and you actually manage to play through that, that's really satisfying. But if your opponent just like flips over Imperial Order, you're just kind of sat there like, okay, well, I'll go into my extra deck, you know, I'll do a special summon overlay, maybe make like a Tornado Shark or something, and then, I think it's Tornado Shark that pops. It's Tornado something. I'm pretty sure it's Tornado Shark. Anyway, you do that, and then your opponent like flips over their skill drain, and then you're like, well, now I need a trap card that outs this, and I don't have that, so fuck me, I guess. A message. Held a message. Yeah, what were you doing, auto mod? Ah, right. It was one of those creepy bots. Let's get rid of that immediately. I got to grind more speed ladder this month. Gonna need those gems. I mean, don't we all? I literally just went a complete month without playing, so my speed account has now dropped down to gold, which is kind of sad. Now that only protects Charles. I mean, Charles equipped with Excalibur and Ugie is almost the same. Fluff or Cringe Ice Barrier based. I mean, you're entitled to think that, Sakadet, so I just don't have to agree with you. All decks are cool. Most of them are cringe. You can be a cringe cool deck, right? I think that's fine. Metal Silver Excalibur and Wicked Lock protects everything. Well, there is that. Hey, Duke. Welcome on in. What can you say about Go Rush World Tomato? I can say quite a lot about Go Rush World. Go Rush World isn't what I was wanting, but I'm not unhappy about it. I always try and find like the silver lining on this sort of thing, and I do think a lot of the Go Rush stuff is really, really cool. We'll talk about it a bit more in depth when we like get to it, because we're currently just talking about the tier list. But cautiously optimistic, I guess. As long as we don't release too many of the really strong Go Rush cards, it will just make the meta better, right? So that's kind of how I feel. My argument is negates and floodgates are super annoying, but if they're in the game, you can't expect to not see them. I think what people would say is, though, that you could stop printing them or restrict them or ban them. I think that's the things that people are always like, we'll do one of these 3 things. Now, whether or not any of those 3 things are the best option or even a good option in the first place is still up for debate, but I think that's where people, you know, are on it. They're like, they do exist in the game, so you are going to see them, but they don't have to. We could just get rid of them, you know? Some negates and some floods are fine. For example, Duel Links has been doing a fairly decent job of keeping the negates focused on monster negates and trying to limit the number of them that any one deck can put on the board. Yes, I do think Duel Links does a very good job of it, and a big part of that is because of the Duel Links specific ban list and the fact that we're able to lock some cards to archetypes via like skills and stuff. I do think that's, again, a really good way to do it. Also, the lock isn't really a floodgate. You can still do whatever you want, and I have no interruption to stop you. I mean, that is another thing, right? Because, like, making your guys unaffected by stuff doesn't necessarily stop you from, like, just attacking over them, right? Now, I don't know this specific lock that we're talking about, but to mind, right? Like, Utopia the Lightning is just, like, a big 5k guy you can just get out and slap over stuff. God, what was it called? The cat people that make the fusions. Lunalight are very good at just making a giant guy that just slaps over like a big towers guy. So, you know. One of the common complaints I've heard is that any of the Go Rush decks instantly invalidate the older decks from 7s. Do you feel it would be true? Yes and no. If it is the Go Rush decks as they released, no. the Go Rush decks at launch were kinda ass. And it took several waves of support to make them good. Probably the best one outside of like using non-archetype cards. So for example, Light Galaxy did okay because it had access to Gate Order, because it had access to really good support cards that didn't specifically work on Light Galaxy. They were just normal monster support cards. And then Jointech Rex saw play as a one-of in a lot of different decks, but not as like a deck. And then Dark Galaxy did okay when it first came out, but it didn't do anything like super, super crazy. So like, the individual cards are very, very strong. The decks themselves as a whole archetype, I don't think would suddenly explode onto the meta and just be the best things ever. And the other thing to remember is that because skills exist, we can always give a terrible, terrible deck a really overpowered skill to just bring it up to the power level if the power level does rise. Realistically, none of those new decks, I think, are going to be able to compete with something like Mirror Innovator, because Mirror Innovator is just such a strong card, right? Now, the Mirror Innovator deck itself could get overtaken, but in individual power level of like boss monster to boss monster, Mirror Innovator is still going to be a better boss monster than any of the boss monsters that we get from Go Rush. So, you know. I don't like Lulu's deck, as we've just been completely cut off from that. Deck is trash. I mean, I haven't played with it or against it, so I couldn't really weigh in personally. Do you like Rush Duels, guys? I mean, I like Rush Duels, just saying. Also, hello, Dark Gamer. Yes, in IRL, but Duel Links, they can choose what to give us, and the skills will change things too. Exactly, basically what Manicus said, right? I think a lot of it is doomsaying. A lot of people didn't get what they wanted and are now upset about that. And I can definitely see where they're coming from. I think a lot of people had an idea of what they would have been ideal. And since we're not getting that, it's a little bit like, ugh. But we did predict quite a while back that if we did get Go Rush, it would probably be a very watered down version. I don't, like, if we had all the equip spells, bear in mind, equip spells are a whole other kettle of fish, but equip spells very rarely actually do anything. Like, most of the time you don't even play your equip spells. But if we got, like, the fusions from Go Rush, that would be a completely different conversation. Fusions from Go Rush are so, so strong. If we got maximums from Go Rush, except, like, there's maybe, like, 2 or 3 maximums that would be fine, but the majority of the maximums of Go Rush would not be fine, right? Like, if we got any of the Sea Serpent ones, that wouldn't be okay, right? That would be, I would immediately power creep. I love Rush Duels. It's weak tomato. I mean, like I say, I haven't done it. Innovator is already power crept. Melody best card. So I know Quantum's memeing, but I will say the actual machine deck is still performing okay, right? It is still doing okay. Is it undeniably the best deck now? I think that's definitely up for debate. And will the Light Machine deck itself get power crept? Quite possibly. Like, Mirror Innovator still does see play to this day, but it is not the be-all end-all super powerful card. Now, it has been in several tier 1 decks. It was originally a Machine Caster, then it was a top tier card with Cyber Dragons, and then it saw again another bit of life breathed into it when the Jinzo cards came out, and that's currently where they sit in the Jinzo deck. That's kind of the best place to play Mirror Innovator. But there, any time between those, like, we have been seeing Mirror Innovator dip. So, like, Mirror Innovator as a standalone card is fantastic, but if we don't have the right infrastructure to put it in, it doesn't tend to matter, right? As we get fusions and more powerful decks, Mirror Innovator will fall more and more off, and it's just when those machine decks do rise, that you can put Mirror Innovator in, it will rise back to power, right? It's just because of the ban list in Duel Links and the way it works, it's very easy to say, okay, you're choice restricted. You cannot use Mirror Innovator with Cyber Dragon. You cannot use Mirror Innovator with these Jinzo boss monsters, right? So it will be interesting to see how that develops and how skills will dictate things going forward, and the ban list. It's raw. Her ace is rank 1 monster. I mean, Lyrilusk was decent in Master Duel and release. I remember, what was it? Was it Tri-Brigade Lyrilusk? Like, Tri-Lyrilusk? Was that the deck that was, like, doing really well? And then, I think Lyrilisk Pure was also performing quite well. Obviously, I haven't really looked at what we're getting in Duel Links, and I haven't looked at the skills too much, but the skills look like they do quite a lot for the deck, so I don't know, we'll have to see, nice, same here for now. I have Cyber's deck, but I'm so, well, I assume it's Cyber's, interested for Cyber Dragon and Kraken with Fusion in future. I mean, Kraken is probably a ways off, assuming we're talking about the Sea Serpent Maximum Kraken. That's going to be pretty crazy when it comes out. Lyrilisk is annoying. Ooh, Quantum, not a fan of Lyrilisk by the sounds of things. I don't really know where the deck lies. Like, is it a combo deck? Is it a control deck? Like, I'm not really sure. Based on the fact that Quantum doesn't like it, and I think Grand does like it, I'm leaning towards it being more of a control deck, but my goal is both Fusion and a Maximum. Do you have the complete Vast Vulcan deck? I mean, everyone loves the Vast Vulcan deck. Most important question, show us who you voted for in the Speed and Rush predictions. Quantum Q's, if he hasn't voted for you, betrayed. So, I'm planning to release a video, either like tomorrow or the day after, or day after that or something, talking about Worlds, right? And I was trying to like get some information on some of the duelists that are going, and some of them are quite easy, right? Finding information on Zeta is really easy. Man has articles written about it, right? It's so easy to find information. Finding information for some of the lower name players, like Weiner in Japan, was really hard. Trying to find anything for Weiner was really, really difficult. It's a weird one, just because its main strategy is to either cheese wins with direct attacks or deal reflect damage. Ah, I see. I want to go back and watch the Lyrilisk episodes of Arc V again at some point, just so I can like refresh my memory of what they actually do. Congrats on the championship, Quantum. If you did it, at least a pure version. Make a video about penne being the best food confirmed in game. I mean, I think one person said about penne, so we'll just leave it at that. I think that's fine. When it's played as part of a combo deck, such as with Tri Brigade, then it's more of a combo. Build a board. I see. Birds are going to be so strong. I mean, it'll be interesting to see which of the new decks actually do perform very, very well. Obviously, we'll get into that in a minute when we get to the leaks. We'll finish talking about the tier list real quick, I guess. Shark went down. This is kind of surprising. I think Shark's been doing quite well, but I guess Star Seraph is... It's a weird one, right? I feel like Star Seraph and Shark are both kind of rank 4 toolbox decks. Obviously, they have, like, differences. I don't know, I think Shark was performing quite well. Obviously, again, I am, again, not a speed guy. So, you know. By the way, Go Rush has no subbed latest episode. Yeah, I've heard that there's been some problems with the subbing team for Rush. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But, you know, Shark down, Sacred Beast up, Infernoble Knight up. Seems pretty cool. I like that there's a lot of decks here. I like that we have tier 1 decks and there's just not an empty tier 1. I think that always just feels better to look at. And now we'll get on to the actual leaks. Oh, the leaks. The leaks. We're excited to talk about the leaks. So, first up, Go Rush. We'll probably talk about this last because it's quite a big topic. But Go Rush World, very interesting, very exciting. I think some of the bosses are going to be really, really fun to play. Go Rush had a big problem when it first released, and this is the card game and the show, which is they released really bad cards and really bad episodes to try and reteach people how to play the game. So the very first episode of Go Rush was like, you can draw 5 cards? Wow, this is a normal summon. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, normal summoning. That's a whole mechanic. I don't even think in the first episode they used any spells and traps. I think they literally taught us about like effect monsters in episode 2 and then like spell cards in episode 3. Like they literally went so very slowly teaching you one mechanic at a time, and it was awful. It was so bad. And because of that, a lot of the boss monsters, or I guess a lot of the boss monsters, a couple of the boss monsters that we got around that time were very middling, such as Galactica Oblivion. The main character's boss is a vanilla, which just, that speaks volumes, right? So we have... it seems Yuna is helping you. Oh, spoilers. Oh, we have CZ in the chat. Leaks, what's up, Tomato? Excited for more Rush characters to play. I mean, always going to be a good one. Always going to be exciting. Subbit is moving house delayed. I watched your short video about Go Rush, and it was interesting. I heard about it. The first ep is so bad. Yet, if anyone here has watched Go Rush, like, the first 10 episodes are awful, right? They're kind of relatively important because they set up the characters, their bit of their personalities, or whatever. The duels themselves are terrible. They are completely just so bad. And it's really hard to recommend Go Rush to someone, and you're like, yeah. Struggle through, like, the first 10, and then it gets good. And then, actual duels happen, actual good cards are played, really interesting back and forth games start happening. There's actual, like, a story when Zuijo gets introduced, and we actually get to see him. I don't know. It gets a bit weird. Thank you for following Messengelato. Enjoy it. That's a great name, by the way. Messengelato. Just Madolce in general. So fantastic. Your message in Rush about Yuga's journey was inspiring, Tomato. Your message in Go Rush about Yuga's journey. I don't know what we're referring to there, Duke. My message in Go Rush about Yuga's journey. I can't remember what that is, but I'm happy that you found happiness in that. And also, Quantum Cubes, no peen. But Seven's got at least 10 new character IDs for the files, mostly NPCs. And from what I've seen of this, it looks like Otis and Seat Bastion are in there as playable. So I believe we could play as Otis during some sort of campaign, and I don't remember if during one of the Nail events we could play as Seat Bastion, but either that tells us we have already played as them, or we will be able to play with them again in the future, either as part of an event or as part of just characters getting released. Who said Penne? Alright, we are actually in an ad break. Obviously, half of you probably don't have ads because ads are very weird on this website, but my stats are telling me we got ads, so we'll wait until the ads are finished before we continue. Oh, have a nice stretch. Everyone should make sure to limber up. And hydrate. Who said Penny? Welcome on, Bismarck. Quantum, we're here to cheer for your success. Gold luck, man. I mean, I really feel like Quantum is probably the underdog going in to Worlds. And that is very exciting because everyone loves to root for an underdog. Plus, Quantum is such a known person in the community. Like, he's just so popular. Everyone knows about him. People will just lurk in his chat just to watch tournaments and stuff. So, like, everyone knows who Quantum is. So, it'll be a really exciting... Anytime Quantum wins a game, it will be really, really cool, right? So, like, Quantum makes it to top 4. Okay, that's hype. Quantum makes it to top 2. Okay, that's really hype. Quantum wins World. Incredible, right? That will just be like... Because it's one of those things, I feel like any other player... It's like, oh, Zeta does really well. Okay, everyone expected Zeta to do well because Zeta does well in everything, right? Now, I don't know how much Rush Zeta plays. Like, who even knows? But obviously, he has the experience of going to these high-pressure events multiple times. So we expect that, right? Paco wins or comes second, or at the very least top 4s in most tournaments he plays in. Unless he's memeing. So, if Paco just wins, it's not too surprising. Angry Angel. If Angry Angels wins, nobody's shocked because Angry Angel wins a lot. Giorfio is a weird one for me. So Giorfio is a very strong player. He's put in these very high-stakes situations quite a lot. He plays in so many different tournaments for both Speed and Rush. But, one thing I will say, Giorfio tends, at least in Rush, to play like one deck at a time. So I don't know if the 5-deck format is going to put him at a bit of a disadvantage. So basically, all the way through the World's Qualification stage, Giorfio played exclusively Cyberse. And it's a weird one, right? Like, when he played in tournaments, he was playing, like, bad Psychics and just seeing how well he could do. And then lately, his deck has been, like, Worms. But, like, even if you put all the decks Giorfio plays into, like, a pile, you don't even get to 5. So, like, I'm interested to see how well Giorfio performs. Because, again, he does seem like the kind of player who is a master of very few decks, but doesn't go wide. Whereas I feel like someone like Parko plays every deck in the format and plays them to a decent level. So I feel like a player like Parko is going to have an advantage there. But maybe Parko isn't going to have the experience of being in high-stakes situations as much as some of the more qualified and experienced players. So that could be a detriment towards him, right? It's very interesting how we have all these different types of players going to Worlds, and all of them have different strengths and weaknesses. Parko is me, but he memes less. He almost inspires me to try properly more, almost. Well, Parko does also just, like, play memes as well. Like, Parko managed to get to top 4 with Buster Blader. And then that was the only time we've ever seen Buster Blader even enter a tournament, or at least top. But, like, Parko just walked in with this, like, bad deck that no one else is performing well on, and is just like, yeah, I'm just gonna top, don't worry about it. It's just like, okay, I guess. One of his decks will 100% be beat down. I doubt that, to be honest. The other thing is, obviously I do have a little bit of extra knowledge about some of the players, because I do know some of these players. So it's difficult to, like, not try and give out free information about some of these players. I'm just going to try and be, like, as vague as possible with some of the people I actually know personally. Buster Blader is good, but too many bosses in the meta that counter the skill at the moment. I mean, it's been like that forever, though, right? That's the thing. Like, since the Buster Blader skill came out, I think it's had a grand total of 1 top, like, ever. So, like, it's been, like, 2 whole months, and it still isn't really doing anything. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Is that I see you, I foresee you with the 5 gifted subs. Welcome back to the channel, my friend. It's been so long since you've been here. I see you, I foresee you. I hope you've been doing okay. And again, we really, really appreciate you gifting the subs. I'm speechless. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much. Sad Buster Blader. Buster Blader's still doing good. Buster Blader still sees playing Ice Arc as well. But Ice Arc is another deck that has been slipping a little bit, which is... it's a bit of a shame. Like... ICU Bomb, let's go. Exactly. ICU, whenever he comes in, he's always so very friendly and so very generous. But Ice Arc, I think, is a deck that's still decent. Like, it's still strong. I think a lot of people are of the opinion that Ice Arc, though, is now just worse spellcasters. Right? It's worse SAR. And whether or not that's true or not, I think is maybe up for debate. But obviously, SAR has been putting up a lot of results. So it's a lot of people are like, well, why would I play that one when I could just play that, but better? You have to stream more often, then I could watch you more often. We stream on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's we have our, like, locked-in rotation. We'll sometimes do Sundays, but very, very rarely. Buster Blader will shine when Dragon meta will be. Well, Dragons could get pretty good with the fusions. Dragons will eventually get really good when we get a lot of the Go Rush stuff. Early Go Rush cards, I doubt Dragons are going to get any real kind of buff. Bluetooth Burst Dragon is not the most exciting boss monster, especially on release, unfortunately. Excited for the 2.1k attack vanilla beatdown structure. I have so many opinions about that structure deck, but, like, short answer, no. Long answer, when we do eventually get access to more Cyber Dragon cards, I'll be happy that I bought 3 copies of this deck to get 3 copies of the Cyber Dragon. I think that's where it feels cruel, is the deck seems like ass, and it feels like you buy it just to get the Cyber Dragons, and then if they release the Cyber Dragons later as, like, you know, a catch-up box, a deck build box, a selection box, etc., it's then like, well, anyone that bought that structure deck oh, we got you. You didn't have to do that. And it's like, ah. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. True. Isarc has a good matchup for Psychics at the moment because they're all 2,500. I mean, you're not wrong, right? Any deck that could just like build a huge board is going to be pretty good into Psychic, because Psychic basically just want to make an even bigger board, slap over you, and have that carryover damage kill you. If you have a massive board of like 2,000 plus attackers, that's less damage you're taking. But then it can get a bit funny if they get like multiple Primas, then that could just be a detriment. It's a bit awkward. It's definitely a bit awkward. Literally, just instead of the Earth, you are a Sidra boss monster, and it would have been fine. Yes, I think pretty much the entire Rush community would agree with you there. Where it's like, why didn't we get a Sidra boss monster? I don't even think it would have been good. Like, I legit don't think it would have made it to tier 1 if we had a Sidra boss monster. It probably would have been like a solid tier 2 deck. But we didn't get a Sidra boss monster, we got a pile of crap instead, so it's like, I don't know. I think Rin's deck is way more powerful than Lulu's. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Has every card in the structure been confirmed now then? Only the brand new ones. The brand new cards should be locked in. So every other card in the structure should be a reprint. We need a streamer for Friday and Saturday. Wait a minute, don't we have like Friday and Saturday streamers? Surely we have that. Maybe not for this time slot specifically. Yes, that's good. Same here. I like use fusions and maximum. I don't have Vast Vulcan deck, but I have a complete Yggdrago deck. It's tier 3 now, but it's very strong. I don't know about tier 3. Yggdrago's still definitely performing. It's arguably the 3rd or 4th best deck in the game right now. Like, it's still doing really, really well. Very strong. I have videos in the channel on TikTok if you're interested to watch. TikTok videos for Rush. I do not use TikTok whatsoever, so I have no idea what the Rush scene on TikTok is like. I would imagine not big. Exactly, it would have been playable, not OP. Exactly, Coroner. I got Vast, Vulcan, Yggdrago, Overlord, and Worm Maximum. We're just collecting all the maximums, are we? Monosync streams Friday. Yeah, that is a good point, actually. We received a hype emote. Neat. I don't know what that means. Here we go. I'm going to do that. Twitch wants me to send this as a message with this emote, so we're just going to do that. Thanks, Twitch. Monosync. Yeah, Monosync is absolutely fantastic. Monosync does the skillless tournaments, which is really, really fun. It's basically like playing the physical card game. And there is talk about maybe going to 40 card decks, which would be an extra step in that direction, which I do personally really, really enjoy. If we scroll back up. The starter deck boss monsters leaked have synergy with the starter deck, or the structure deck. The effect is not even useful in Sidra. Yes, it is very, very perplexing. It's like they made it, and they were like, all right, we're going to give us a Sidra boss monster, and at last moment, someone went, no, we can't give that. Swap it out. It's very, very weird. Are you co-casting Grand for Rush Duel Worlds? Tomato has a free invite during Worlds 100%. Yeah, I'll probably stop by at the very least. As long as it isn't like a horrific time for me, because I am technically on call all the time. So if something has to come up, then something has to come up, which is why it can get a bit annoying whenever I try and like do any kind of collabs with anyone. But I would be more than happy to jump in and talk about the meta, talk about the worlds, and watch my boys. You got to rep your boys who are all going to be playing Worlds, right? Monday, no. Tuesday, Tomato. Wednesday, no. Thursday, Tomato. And Quantum. Friday, Mono. Saturday, no. Sunday, Grand. I mean, yeah, that's basically like my watch list as well. Except like I'll sprinkle in other people like Shui. I watch like a bunch of Shui. I watch like some Icy. I watch Acceleration Gate whenever I can. We watch Duel Links Alpha whenever he's streaming. What else have we got here? Monday is Grand streaming. This... The Twitch chat is so... Right, we're going to use the Twitch chat over here, just 'cause it's easier for this right now. So we have... I like why they have a skill that literally just searches Proto when there is nothing to do with it. Well, at the very least, you can use it like Aim Eagle, where you can just have it as a body. Even if you don't actually want to use this effect, it's still nice to like fix your hands. Rush, yeah, once per dual search 1100 monster. I mean, it's not great. It's not great. There's no real way to sugarcoat it, but like, you can do some stuff with it, I guess. Nice, you seem strong rush duelist. Side your boss, you are in main box on New World. I mean, could you imagine? Those times are revealed in game. It's from 6 to 0 for rush on Saturday. I see. I mean, that's probably going to be fine. Realistically, I can't see it not being fine. Also, hello, Marco. Welcome on in. I think it's 5 or 6 p.m. for rush. Well, that's the thing is, everyone's saying like all these times, but like, obviously I'm in the UK, so it's got to be UK times. Now, these might be UK times you're telling me, but I don't know. It's 3 rounds for rush and 4 for speed. Yes, it looks interesting because it's 3 rounds of Swiss and then like a top 4 top cut, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes, because I guess depending on who you just get paired against in the Swiss, it could like drastically change what happens, right? It'd be interesting to see as well, because you only get to use each deck once. It's not like the Hearthstone tournaments where it's like you have to win on each of your decks once. No, you only get to use each deck once. So let's say you bring out your strongest deck. Let's say, like, I don't know, you bring out your Psychic deck and you brick heavily on your Psychic deck. Well, tough. Your Psychic deck's gone. You've got to win on your other decks now. It's German time, so maybe an hour difference. Yeah. It's on Duel Links. Just look there. I mean, I'll have to look there at some point. When Duel Links will release Kraken Rush. Well, that's the other thing as well, as I want to know is the speed and rush at the same time? Because I saw someone say that rush was starting an hour and a half after speed, and I'm like, but then surely speed won't be finished in an hour and a half. So like, it was very strange. But again, I haven't looked at the times myself specifically. So when Duel Links will release Kraken Rush deck. Probably a long time yet, Dark Gamer. Realistically, you're talking like a year, maybe? Like, it's probably going to be a long time. Germany sucks. Wow. Ooh. At least it's not France. Why are we getting all the EU hate today? I mean, England ain't great, not going to lie. I'm from there, and I could say that country's not great, but I get to say that because I'm from England, right? And France is at least not GB. I mean, there we go. There we go. ICU equally hates every European country, so it's fine. But yeah, we got, again, the 10 new character slots, mostly NPCs, and for the playable ones, it was Otis and Seat Bastion. We might get Seat Bastion and Otis as playable characters sooner than later. We might not. Who knows? But they're in the files. They're there. So there's something we know. I guess Speed Duel starts a bit early because it has one more round. If they mess up like in 2021, there will be an 8 hours delay. Ooh, that's not great. We're better than France for sure. Wow, Manicus, just throwing that in there. All right, we have the new speed box. And this is a box I'm actually very excited for because there are a lot of archetypes in here that are interesting. There are a lot that I personally am really looking forward to playing. So I have been kind of just holding off on my speed account for the gems because I wasn't really sure what we were doing with them. But this box is something we're definitely going into. I have always been a big fan of branded. So picking up like Titaniclad, picking up Fallen of Albaz. We're going to want to get like the Ecclesias, Punishment. Like all these cards are really, really cool for me. I really want to pick a lot of these cards up. Then there's the Gaia stuff. I don't know. I like Gaia. I'll probably play it because if I'm going into this box 3 times, I'm going to just have all the cards anyway. So we'll probably give that a go. Also, thank you for the follow, Puzzling Balk. I mean, I guess we can all agree we are all better than the USA. I mean, I don't think the USA viewers might agree with you, but yeah. Book of Eclipse is wild. Book of Eclipse is such a weird card to me as well. Because Book of Eclipse originally was a common card released in... God, what was the pack even called? It was the one with Stardust Dragon on the front. It was the very first set of 5Ds. And it was just a common. So, like, It's so weird that this card is, like, so good and so, like, well-renowned. I suppose, saying that, like, Book of Moon was just a rare released in Pharaonic Guardian, so that card's just been around forever. But we got some cool cards in here, right? We got Wind Witches, which I know a lot of people are very, very excited for. I've heard a lot about this as being a... It's like Speedroids, right? It's like a Speedroidy type archetype, so I'm gonna, from that, assume it's a combo deck that can put up multiple negates. Again, I haven't really looked too much into it myself, but the skill do look really, really powerful, so there is that. We love Branded. I mean, I love Branded. I just, like I was saying in Grand's chat yesterday, I really want Mirror Jade, and I want Branded Fusion, and then... Because, like, Titaniclad's nice. Like, I don't want to say, like, Titaniclad's, like, bad or anything, but, like... It's just kind of a big ball of attack that's unaffected by stuff. And being unaffected is still really, really strong, right? Let's not forget about, like, Nisk, right? But it's only unaffected by activated effects from other monsters from the extra deck. And that's still good. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's just, it could be better, I guess. And obviously, it does float as well, which is quite nice. The issue is always going to be Fallen of Albaz itself. Because, obviously, your opponent needs to have a monster on their field that we can use to fuse, right? Well, I suppose if they just... In a weird way, I guess, Fallen of Albaz gets better when we see Starving Venom. If we ever actually see that card. If Yuri ever actually manages to release into Duel Links. It's Speedroid, but waifus. I mean, that's fine, right? Who doesn't love Speedroid waifus? I'm proud. Similar to Speedroid, you want to summon Crystal Wing, same as Speedroid. And Crystal Wing is just so good, man. So good. It's one of those weird ones where I'm sure there are some decks that just don't care about it, but just every time I play a deck, it's always... Crystal Wing is always a pain in the ass to get rid of. Bundle, Synchro, help with Wind Witch and Speedroids. I recommend my 10-year-old's brother chose you in Champion Prediction. I mean, Quantum Cubes is... I will say, I don't want to, like, throw shade. I do think Quantum Cubes is the underdog going into Worlds. But in my opinion, that is a good thing. People, I think, will underestimate Quantum Cubes. Especially anyone that's, like, in the community, I think will definitely underestimate Quantum. And we'll see what happens there. King of the Swamps plus Super Poly. I mean, basically, yeah. Quantum is the people's choice. I mean, like I say, it would be great if Quantum could win. It would also be... Basically... I mean, who would I not want to win out of everyone? Let's just jump over quick, so we got this up. Sorry. So who would we not want to win? Realistically, I think any of these guys would be a really cool person to win. Parko was obviously massive in the community. Quantum is obviously also massive in the community. Zeta just seems like a really cool guy. Seems like a really strong player that's supported the game, like, forever. I don't know a ton about Sunrisanti, but seems like a really cool guy. Giorfio, everyone knows Giorfio. You know, he's a lovely guy. Volt has been a massive Rush player forever. Volt was playing Rush before I was playing Rush. So, like, seeing one of the OGs make it to Worlds is really, really exciting. So seeing Volt win would also be really exciting. Then we have Weiner, who, again, I don't know a ton about. So I guess Wino is my lowest pick. And then Angry Angel, again, absolutely lovely guy, runs the Angel Cup. Absolutely fantastic. I would love to see him win as well. So it's like, there's very few bad options here. You know what I mean? For World Champion, streamer calls Quantum mid and washed. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Quantum has the power of streaming, means he's used to having loads of people watching, good for high pressure situation. I'm worried, like, Paco hasn't done a big IRL event. I think it's always online, so I wonder if it'll get to him. Hopefully not. It's a weird one. So, for example, I have gone to UK Nationals a few times, and even though it's a large in-person event, I would, if I went to this, I would still get nervous. So I think it's... Having that experience is obviously good because it lets you deal with it when you do get nervous. It helps you, you know, calm down easier because you've been in that situation before. It's more normalized. Out of all the people here, though, I think Zeta is probably the one that's going to have the best job with that just because he's been to these extraordinarily high-pressure situations before. Giorfio, I think, is probably going to do okay at that as well. I'm pretty sure Giorfio has attended like this sort of event in the past, so I think these two are going to have like that kind of factor going with them. Voltalon winning would be poetic. Yeah, like I said, I would love it if Voltalon won, because Voltalon, I guess, is such a cool guy, and he's one of those players that's very innovative. He really likes to come up with things that other people haven't already come up with his own decks. Like, he was an innovator in the Rush Duel physical game for a deck called Sea Serpent Midrange, where he was basically the only one playing it, and he was just winning tournaments on this deck. No one else was even playing, and it was just doing really, really well, which was really, really cool. A former world competitor in Speed Duel and made it pretty far. Ah, that's very good information, actually. So this is the issue with a lot of the time. The only information I really have access to at the moment is like people's like Twitters, right? I need to like go back and look at the prior Worlds contestants to see who has actually been there before. He attended online Worlds, I think. Giorgio only attended online WCS. I see. Only online. Moki Moki also played in Speed WCS before. Oh, I never knew that. That's cool. I believe in Quantum. I mean, I want Quantum to do well. I would love it if Quantum did do well. Soon and Giorgio are in the same clan. That's not too surprising. But back to the decks. Wish Spectral Squall worked on special summoned Ice Sark. I mean, we can't have everything, right? I mean, they could get an update in the future. Yeah, Gaia. I'm looking forward to playing with the Gaia stuff. I think Gaia's cool. I'm not like super invested into it, but the skill looks like fine. You just get like a bunch of random plussing just to try and fuse into this guy, which is neat, I guess. Biggest thing I won IRL Yu-Gi-Oh! Was when they did the envelope thing where you got DMG/BE, same sort of that Danger cards debuted. It was a good profit there. Nice. I think, so I had 2 trophies before, which were like, if anyone's like ever won these like trophies, they're like these little glass things that have like a card inside. They're about yay big. But I don't have them anymore. One of them I smashed up. And that's because me and a friend just thought it would be funny to try and get the card out, and we just couldn't. So I had 2 of those, and then I've also got some like certificates from various different events. I think the biggest event we ever won was like a Summer Cup final, which was where you had like preliminary events, and then you had to like win your way into that event, and then you could go there and then play with all the other winners, and then whoever won that got, you know, the certificate and the prizing and all this other stuff. That's probably the biggest event I've ever actually won. Maybe you know it. Is in Zenith and the same clan? Yes, he is. But yeah, I think it's going to be cool. Again, we haven't looked a ton at the Lyra Lusk and Wind Witch cards. They're probably what I know the least about. But like, I'll probably read up on them as we go forward, just because, you know, they seem like cool cards. I've never been a big fan of the Lyra Lusk like aesthetic. I will say that. I don't like the look of these cards. Like, the art on them just does nothing for me at all. Like, I don't know. This looks weird to me. I don't want like little girls that are dressed as birds, or are birds, or is somewhere in between. It's just not. It's not my aesthetic of choice. One thing I do really like is Time Thieves. I think Time Thieves are a really cool archetype. The biggest problem Time Thief has always had, in my opinion, is that there are just so few Time Thief cards. But it turns out if you cut your deck in half, maybe that doesn't matter as much. So maybe Time Thieves would be really cool. Like, fingers crossed. I don't think I've ever actually summoned Perpetua. It's obviously always a redoer that we always go into. But this card also seems pretty cool. Fleur de Lis. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really cool box. I have no idea what this card is. I don't think I've ever even seen this card before. Does anyone know if this card has ever seen any play? Raging Storm Dragon. Beaufort? Time Thief is so cool. You don't like chicks. Noted. Time Thief have good skill. Half deck, double the fun. And redo it in side skill. Yes, I do think the Time Thief skill does look pretty cool. In fact, that was one thing that I actually think was weird. We're getting a Time Thief skill. We're not getting an Albaz skill. Now, again, we have barely any Albaz cards, right? But we're not getting a Dogmatica skill, as far as I recall. And I don't think we're getting like an Albaz skill. So it's like, what skill are we going to use with those cards? Is a common in TCG. It's weird that it's a super here then. Oh, I suppose you just use it as a hand trap just to negate an attack. Is that all we're going to be doing with this? Not particularly excited. And then we get to another archetype I'm actually quite looking forward to. I really like Magispectors. I think Magispector is a cool archetype. I know there's not a lot going on. Like, Magispector is kind of just like Kirin Turbo, and we don't have Kirin. Which I don't think we have Kirin. But I do really like Magispector. I did play them again in like Limited, and it was basically just like summon them, use the effects, grab a spell trap, and then we just basically get the plus and then use some of these. You know, we get to use some of these pretty relatively okay trap cards. I think that's fine. It's like a Kite Road. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Then we have, again, more Wind Witch, more Lyrilusk, more Time Thief. I remember Regulator being really, really cool. I really liked Regulator when it first came out. I don't remember Startup. I do not remember Startup at all. Adventure card from your graveyard. Target Time Thief Xyz monster you control. Attach 3 Time Thief cards of different types. 1 monster, 1 spell, and 1 trap from your graveyard. So that would just set up all of the effect. Seems alright. Interesting we're getting Spiral Fusion as well. Very interesting we're using this. I don't know if Spiral Fusion is going to be like crazy strong or not. Because like, we still aren't fusing from graveyard. We're not giving any protection. Does the boss monster here actually have any protection built in? We have Piercing. When it destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent. So it's just a massive OTK thing if we get to combine Spiral Fusion plus this guy. But no protection, no way to turn off back row. I don't have high hopes for it, but the problem in Magispector is our hand size going first plus no Unicorn, Xyz, and Link. I mean, you're not wrong. I still want to try it. Like, I'd have some fun just doing some stuff with it. Magispectors are prime for dedicated skill soon. I mean, it'd be cool if they did. Imagine this as well, the skill just had Kirin just baked into it. Which I guess is not, like, too unlikely. I do not know this card at all. Giga Thunder Gyclops. Okay. Once per turn, you can target 1 pendulum monster you control, 1 monster your opponent controls, change their battle positions. Okay, a bit mid. I guess you can change a face down card, face up, which would be more relevant in Rush. If this card, special summoned from the extra deck, is used as synchro material, banish it. When this card is normal summoned, you can change its battle position. Okay. Use each effect of it once per turn. If the battle position of this card is changed, you can target a face-up spell card and destroy it? I mean, against some decks that's okay, but like, I don't think it's really worth a deck slot. Card destroyed in the Pendulum Zone, you can return 1 card from your Pendulum Zone to the hand. Very Right, what about this one? Fusion summoned, you can target a spell trap in your graveyard, specific list cards Gaia the Dragon Champion in its card text. A fusion spell trap? Okay. Only use effective Cursive Dragon, the magical knight once per turn. If you would fusion summon a level 7 dragon monster, you can also banish from your graveyard. Okay. I guess this is just a combo piece. This is like an enabler. I don't dislike this. It still has the same issues though, where you're gonna make like a really cool big OTK push, but then your opponent just has like a trap card and it stops you. Spiral Fusion and Gaia Fusion from Old Structure. Only turn 1 in Gaia is like the other Gaia Fusion plus Furious Dragon. Spiral isn't once per turn. Yeah, so we can go into this, get Spiral back, because it does mention Gaia the Dragon Champion. Then... yeah. Fuse from Graveyard. Potentially the same cards? Is this... this has got to be once per turn though, right? So theoretically... it wouldn't really be worth it, but you could just make double this, and then get this back to your hand again, but then you'd have no more material in graveyard. Let's recover. I don't really know what Thrush does. Gives 500 attack for each material attached to it, so obviously we want to attach as much to it as possible, I would assume. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target a spell, trap, your pick, control, shuffle it to the deck. That's not bad. At the start of the damage step, if another monster you control battles, you can detach any number of materials from this card. That monster you control gains 300 attack for each... This is probably, like, a good, like, combo piece within the deck, but, like... I'm also a bit surprised that there's nothing... Like, they have a UR spell, but they have no UR monsters. None of the extra deck monsters are in here. Obviously, you'll get them as level up rewards and, like, gate drops and stuff, but, like... I would still have expected there to be an extra deck monster in the UR slot in the box. Back row hate is nice. Oh, yeah. It's one of those things where I feel like you probably won't go into this unless you have to get rid of back row, right? Like, it's kind of like an optional part of the board to try and break. And then this is weird. Why is Zero Gravity, Dimension Wall, and Overworked in here? Tomato, check what Gaia Fusion do. They are from the old structure. Alright, let's have a look at Gaia Fusion. Go back over to speed. Alright, well that's not helpful. So we'll go Gaia, and then we'll look up Fusion monsters. So we have Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, which is... This card's name becomes Gaia the Dragon Champion while on the field. You can only use each of the following effects of Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons once per turn. During the main phase, quick effect, you can target one other card on the field. This card loses exactly 2600 attack, and if it does, destroy it. So just a pop in exchange for all of your attack. When this card destroys a person in battle, you can make this card gain 2600 attack, which if we combine it with Gaia... Spiral Fusion, it would gain an extra attack and 2600 attack. So this guy would jump up to 52 and then be able to attack twice, and if it killed a monster, gain an extra 26. Or you could reduce it by 26 as a quick effect and destroy any card. And that seems fine. That seems fine. Then we have Sky Galloping, which is this card's name becomes Gaia the Dragon Champion while it's on the field, so another card that's going to really benefit from the Spiral Fusion. If this card is special summon, you can add Spiral Spear Strike, and then change back position. This is less interesting for me personally. So this has to be made using a non-effect Synchro monster, so this is probably also not going to see much play. Cannot be targeted by or destroyed by the effects of effect monsters. Meh. Not excited by that. I would say Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons is definitely like the winner of these. It's not once per turn pop, I think. It says you can only use each of the following effects of Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons once per turn. So it does sound like a hard once. But yeah, I don't know why we're getting these three. This is weird. The spell give you piercing and draw 2 Discardo. I'm not a big fan of Spiral Spear Strike. I feel like you don't really need it. I feel like the deck already has plenty of other stuff. Look up Boral Dragon 2. Boral Fusions. Oh, you want to look at the Boral Fusions? Yeah, we can look at the Boral one. Also, we're going to have to get... This song just has like 20 seconds of dead air at the end. Are we talking about Boral rather than Borel? Because I'm not seeing any of them. It's just him. It's just Furious Dragon. Unless it's got like a part of its name that I don't know. 13 days until Physical Rush ban list I just saw. It's a hard one for me because I am interested in Physical Rush and Physical Rush ban list, and I still really enjoy playing it. I do not have the time, like the free time, to keep up to date with both Rush Duel and Rush Duel Links. Like I have to pick one and like go all in on it. So like I didn't make a ban list video for the latest Physical Rush Duel ban list because I hadn't played in a tournament for so long that I felt like my like finger on the meta was not there anymore, right? So like it's him, just Furious Dragon. He's 2 Dark Dragons. So what are we talking about with this? We can... Dragon Fusion must be extract using monsters. But he's not going to get the bonuses from Spiral Fusion, right? 7 Treasure Engine is my guess. Maybe a Jinzo hit. It wouldn't surprise me if they're the main hits. Like, maybe we'll see something from the Wind Warriors get hit, but that's only really good because of the Elemental Heroes, but I don't think they'll hit the Elemental Heroes yet. Be interesting to see what they do there, though. Like, they've got to hit 7 treasures. There's no way they don't hit 7 treasures, right? There's no way at all they don't. And then there's these bastards. We have the Gradles. Again, I'm not a big fan of the Gradles. Now, we don't have... Oh God, what's their spell card called? It's like Gradle something. But he's a pop for turn 1. Oh, so he would be your turn 1 play. It's a very heavy investment to get him out, though. Especially if you're doing it with, like, Spiral Fusion. That's like a 3-card investment to get a 3k attack guy that can pop, but you also have to pop one of your own cards. Again, I'm not a big speed player, so I'm always going to have Gradle no skill, also no real deck. I mean, it's still annoying to play against it. One thing we don't have is we don't have a lot of the Gradle support cards, right? We don't have Gradle Impact. Oh, we do have Gradle Impact. Why do we have Gradle Impact? Oh, just for Slime and Slime Jr. And we already have Dragon as well. So we're going to get all the rest of the Gradle cards. I mean, I think you could make this work. Now, is it going to be good? Probably not. Gradle's probably too slow. And it's extraordinarily reactive. Like, the deck doesn't do anything unless your opponent's coming at you. And, like, our boss monster isn't particularly impressive. And in a format where everyone's just, like, popping off immediately on turn 1, like, what does Gradle really do? There are so many cards that will just deal with these without even having to worry, right? And these have to be destroyed as well, so if we're able to spin these cards or banish them, just nothing happens. I think I'm just having, like, Gradle flashbacks back to when I played against them in Limited, and I'm just like, no, these cards are evil. We have an old box. Gradle Kaijus. I mean, which Kaijus do we have? God, we have all of it, don't we? I mean, we don't have Kaiju Slumber, which is a big one. We do have Waterfront. But Waterfront's also very slow. I don't know if this deck would actually accomplish anything. It'd be funny to see what people decide to bring it, though. Like, if people bring it to tournaments, it'll be really fun. What else we got here? We got Hack, we got Flyback. I don't remember this one either. Chrono Condor. I do not remember this card at all. During your opponent's battle phase quick effect, you contribute this card. The next battle damage you take from your opponent's monster attack this turn is afflicted to your opponent instead. Okay. If in a face-up Xyz monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card but banish it and leaves the field. Okay. So you could tag out with Redoer, bring this back, and then you have its effect turned on. We've got Scissor Cross, we've got Retrograde. Dogmatic Nexus is a weird card as well. Definitely a weird card. Is that Icy Gamers? Hello, Icy. Welcome to the chat. Let's do an exclamation mark, Icy. There you go, Icy. There's your little shout out. We were just talking about the leaks, Icy. We were talking about all the exciting leaks. We were just talking about how overpowered Gradle's going to be and how it's going to be the best deck in the game. Everyone was saying about how much they love Magispector and how that's going to be a tier 0 deck. You know, people were also talking about how excited they are for Gaia the Fierce Knight. And basically how much I think Wind Witch and Lyrilusk are just going to be the worst decks in the game. Like, they're going to do absolutely nothing. And I'm pretty sure everyone in chat agreed with those takes, so I can't wait for the Go Rush reaction vid. I'm not sure what we're doing with that. I think we're going to wait. Because it's going to be less of a reaction and more of a, like, what does it mean sort of take. So, like, I'll probably do a bit more, like, research into it. And I want to wait as well until after Worlds in case they announce something. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, my biggest disappointment from this box is not enough Albaz cards, no Albaz skill, no Dogmatica skill. The Gaia skill seems kind of mid. and I don't know if it's going to do a ton, just because it's kind of a big OTK push combo deck that feels like it doesn't necessarily have the tools to deal with a bunch of set cards if your opponent just sets some back row. We'll have to see what people cook up with that. No Magispector skill. I mean, there's no Gradle skill, but I don't really care about that. It's interesting we're getting Time Thief skills. Or we're getting a Time Thief skill. Even though we're not getting skills for like a lot of these other bigger decks. I don't know, it seems a bit weird to me. Makes sense. No redo outside of skill. Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but we're only going to get one copy, right? I think if we scroll down, I'm just going to grab this. Add one Time Thief Redoer. I don't know if one, because the problem is if it gets dealt with, it becomes very awkward. Now, obviously, you can always react to it to tag out, but like, we're going to have to wait and see. Gaia's skill mid, you ignore normal summon to start combos. So the problem that I have with the Gaia skill Saka is it doesn't... Nothing in the Gaia archetype that I've seen is particularly good at like dealing with back row. So you don't have a towers, you don't turn off your opponent's back row, there's no like big spell trap destruction in there. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if your opponent sets 3 back row and then has a board as well, how do we push through that? That's what I'm concerned with. That's why I'm like, is this good enough? Because we get a pop on the old fusion monster, but that's once per turn. So then we've still got 2 other back row to potentially deal with. I think if the deck can't consistently get rid of all 3 back row, it's not realistically going to do anything. It's the same way I don't think Fluffle would be remotely as good as it is. Bearing in mind, again, Fluffle is not like a tiered deck. But it has the ability to pop all of your opponent's back row, which is what makes it really good. If you couldn't pop all your opponent's back row, it would also feel a bit crap. Kind of wish it was like a limit 1, then you could run overlay network skill. Yeah? Play anti-magic arrows, #show. Alright, I want to read some of these cards though, because again, we don't really know what these like bosses do, so we're just going to read through Recital Starling real quick. So this card is XE summoned. You can target one face monster on the field against 300 attack and defense for each material attached to this card. Okay. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, add a level 1 winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. That's very strong. All battle damage you take from battles involving this Xyz summoned card is also afflicted to your opponent. So this is not a quick effect. This is just an always-on effect. So you kind of want this to be weak, I guess? Like one face monster on the field. Oh, so we buff our opponent's monsters with it, and then run into them? And then burn our opponent with reverse burn for a ton of damage. Soramia comes in with the balls. Welcome on in, Soramia. Then we have Assembled Nightingale. Gains 200 attack for each Xyz material attached to it. This card can attack directly. While this card has Xyz material, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of Xyz materials attached to it. Okay, that's already seeming a bit awkward. So if we can get this thing up to like 5 materials, it'll be 1,000 attack that can attack 5 times. We get 8 materials, so it has to be 5. You have to get 5 materials to be able to kill your opponent in one push, assuming they've got nothing to stop you and assuming they haven't boosted their life points in any way. Okay, once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach... Why is... That is a weird way to say... That's like the old pre-problem-solving card text way to say quick effect. But weird that we're writing it like that. You can detach one Xyz material from this card, and to the end of the turn, Lyridas monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you take no battle damage. Okay. Okay. Add DD Crow. Is Droll and Lock level 1? It is, but it's also a spellcaster. It's just sad. It should be a Wing Beast. Why is it not a Wing Beast? 2 materials and Psychic Blade. I mean, you're not wrong. And we can also pop our opponent's back row with this. So that's all we need, is we just need to get 2 monsters out, make Thrush, pop our opponent's back row, then we make Assembled Nightingale, equip Psychic Blade to it, attack GG. Easy, right? So Covert Sparrow, this card is special summoned. You can add a level 1 Wing Beast monster from your deck to your hand, which is pretty par for the course of this archetype. You can only use the effect of it once per turn. A wind exes monster summoned using this card gains this effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. So also gives our boss monsters protection, which is kind of nice. The effect is that effect is so disgusting. I mean, in general, these effects seem pretty good. It's one of those ones where I feel like this deck, I feel, is gonna be the like spectrum of like does nothing and like is overpowered. I feel like it's gonna be close to one end of the spectrum, and it's not gonna be in that middle spot. It's gonna be like either it pops off and feels really, really gross, or it does nothing. It's so weird. It's like, how do you make a burn deck without actually burning your opponent? It's like, oh, reverse combat damage and attack directly. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. I'm not, like, against it, I guess. It's just very strange. Looking like it'll be really good, not gonna lie. I mean, it's all gonna come down to the skills, right? And I've seen that these skills have a lot of effects on them. I think I remember when we looked at the leak skills before, I think it was both the Lyrilusk and the Windwitch skills looked pretty nuts. Alright, let's look at these. So this is Winterbell. This is one of the main ones, right? Because, is it Winterbell the one that gets referenced a lot? You can target one Windwitch monster in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the target. We're actually burning with this one. During the battle phase, quick effect, you can target one Windwitch monster you control, special summon one monster from your hand with a level less than or equal to that monster's level, but it cannot attack this turn. So we want to get out like a tuner or tuner material. Then we have Diamond Bell, which is made using a non-wind tuner monster. Non-tuner wind monster even, not a non-wind tuner. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target one Windwitch monster in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its attack. You can only use the effective Windwitch Diamond Bell once per turn. Once per turn, if your opponent takes battle or effect damage, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. Yeah, this is the card that we looked at last time. We were like, this card seems pretty strong. If you control this card that was synchro summoned using only Windwitch monsters as material, you can use this effect up to twice per turn. You just get to burn your opponent. Well, so it's only the popping effect you can use twice, right? It's in separate paragraphs, but I assume it's only that one effect you can use twice. Skill is funny, you can just put Raid Wrap to Xyz. Oh, yeah, we did look at that last time as well. Book of Eclipse stonks. Book of Eclipse looks like it could be really, really strong, but as soon as hand traps become extraordinarily meta, which I feel like they sort of are at the moment, giving your opponent a crap ton of hand traps could be potentially quite awkward. I don't know. I also feel like against both of these decks, maybe Nib becomes quite good. Like, I feel like both these decks, both Lyrilusk and Windwitch, are going to be spamming monsters onto the board and just comboing off as much as they can. So, I don't know, maybe Nib goes kind of hard here. Now, Windwitch Burn. Bird slaps a lot of time. It's all going to come down to if we get the goddamn cards to drop from the event. Or just get the cards to drop from the event. Easy, right? Sparks for game and pop 2. Exactly. Then we have Freeze Bell. So if all monsters you control are Windwitch monsters, minimum one, you can special summon this card from your hand. So this is not a tuner. We can only use the effect of Windwitch Freeze once per turn. Once per turn during your main phase, you can increase this card's level by 1. A wind synchro monster that was summoned using this card as synchro material cannot be destroyed by battle. I mean, not being able to destroy battle is nice. I don't know how relevant that's going to be. I feel like a lot of decks right now are just being able to, like, pop stuff out the way. That'll probably be good against some decks. I don't know if these matter because these are NPC cards, unless these are all just attached to skills. I guess we'll read through them anyway. There's Crystal Bell. You can target one monster in either player's graveyard until the end phase. This card's name becomes a monster's original effect. Replace this card's effect with that target's original effect. Okay. If this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card or by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Windwitch Winter Bell and one level 4 other Windwitch monster from your graveyard and special summon them. Okay, so we can get Winter Bell back. So we could use this, get Winter Bell or Diamond Bell's effect. Presumably we'd have Winter Bell in the graveyard. So we could use this to take Winter Bell's effect, burn our opponent, then special summon a monster from my hand with level less than a Wind Witch monster. Then we could use other effects to bring back Winterbell. And because it's... Winterbell hasn't actually used its effect, we could then use Winterbell's effect to do the exact same thing. I mean, potentially there's quite a lot you could do with that. Most likely we will get the rerun cards, I'm guessing. I see. And then there's Independent Nightingale. So these are both from when they're like mind controlled, right? So I don't remember them using fusion cards in their main decks. Attack equal to its level times 500 and affected by the card effects. Once per turn you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to this card's level. How do we increase this card level? She was the... blah, blah, blah. You can increase this card's level by the number of Xyz materials that monster had. Okay, so we could make this go up to like 3,000 attack by making it level 4 and then burn our opponent for 2,000. Okay. Alright, let's go further down. So limited to 1. Dimension Wall limited to 1. This is very funny. It's bad Magic Cylinder, I guess, but because it's... If this card isn't halved, I guess that's why this would be limit 1. Because Magic Cylinder's halved, right, because it's burn effect, but this one isn't. Ensemble Robin is limited... Do we need to hit Magispector Tornado? Do we really? I guess that the reason is because Wind Witch, right? Wind Witch is the reason we're limiting this. Tyrant got banned because of that fusion. Which one's Tyrant? Which Tyrant are we talking about? Tyrant's Tirade, is this the one? No, I have no idea which Tyrant we're talking about. Hopefully it's not Tyrant Dragon. Not sure if we're getting independent. There's an anime card that we have in game, Southern Stars. Oh, Southern Stars. Let's take a look at that. Also, hello, Dingus. Welcome, welcome. Southern Stars. Target one face monster on the field. Its level becomes 10. That's very amusing. So we could just make it 10. And then just burn our opponent for 5,000 damage. That would be such a funny combo. No, it's a reptile. Copies effects in graveyard. I don't know if it's in the game. Let's have another quick look then. There's a worm. There's a reptile. Yeah, it's Tyrant Neptune. Also, do we need 0 gravity limited to 1? That also just feels like a bit of a weird one. 0 gravity again is a card that came out in like DM era. It's like an ancient card. I mean, Artemis is here. Artemis is still kind of... I see this card and all I think of is the agent deck. Pulse Spine is limit 2. Okay. 0 gravity is limited due to stall decks. I see. 0 gravity to 1 in 2024. Hello, Raindown. Well, I guess that's kind of it for the speed stuff. So now, well, I guess before we get down to the bundles, I guess we'll talk about the Cyber Dragon structure real quick. Actually, we'll talk about that after we look at the bundles. So we got an Ensemble Robin bundle, which is nice. And then we have a Wing Rider bundle. Wing Rider is a weird card. I don't know if this is necessary. Once per turn during the main phase, you can roll a 6-sided dice. Everyone loves rolling dice. And shuffle wind monsters from your graveyard into the deck up to the result. Then you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number shuffled. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card destroyed by this effect until the end of this turn. So it's just a kind of big blowout card. If you roll well. During your opponent's main phase quick effect, you can tribute the Synchro Summon cards for summon up to 2 level 7 Wind Synchro monsters with different names from each other from your extra deck. Which is nice, just be able to cheat stuff out. High Speed Roid, not sure is good. Yeah, it's a weird card, that's for sure. And then we got this, which I guess is... Like, this is nice, right? I like this. Give me 10 of these packs. I'm not a big fan of the the rush, because it's all old stuff now, right? Again, if you're a free-to-play rush account, if you don't spend gems on rush at all, and you just want more cards for your like rush deck, that's great. If you're a rush player, this is pointless. Why are we getting 10 packs of a pack everyone already has opened to death and already has every card from? Give me Epoch and go rush quick. Let the dice roll. Epoch would be a really cool character. I don't think we're going to see her for a while yet. Clearwing Rider. With an OP skill. Well, like, you can choose to get 6s. That's what she does in the show. She just cheats. Alright, so which of these skills were, like, the good ones, right? There were 2 that were very stand out as being, like, yeah, these are the goodies. Is it this one? No, it's definitely not that one. Cannot know summon monsters. What's this one? I know one of these was good. Don't almost summon monsters, level 1 monsters, reveal Lurus from your hands, then Lurus monster from your deck to the graveyard. If your opponent controls monsters, send 1 monster from your field to the graveyard, then play 1 Lurus monster from your deck. Yeah, this was the good one, right? Bird humming. Even Sea Serpent would be before. I mean, if they go by the same release schedule, but they might not, you never know, right? Can't wait for Wind Witch Speedroid. What would that deck even look like? Surely that's going to be like a 30-card deck for sure. Like, I don't know. I have no idea how that's realistically going to look. And then, was it Diamond or was it Winterbell? I think it was Winterbell was like the good one, right? So we can only use this skill's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th effects once per duel. You cannot normal summon or special summon, excluding special summons for the extra deck, any monsters except Wind Witch monsters and Wind Tuners, and your opponent takes no effect damage from effects except the effects of Wind Witch cards. Shuffle a Wind Witch Snowbell or Wind Witch Chimes from your hand into the deck, then add a Wind Witch monster from your deck to your hand. This lets us fix our hand. Obviously, tutoring is always going to be really strong. If you control a Wind Witch Synchro monster, play 1 Wind Witch Snowbell from your deck to your field. So we could even put the Snowbell back into the deck and then summon it out from the deck. Shuffle 1 Tuner from your graveyard into the deck, add a Wind Witch Tuner from your deck to your hand. So we could even put Snowbell back in, then get it back out, then use it to synchro, and then do this again, and then get it back from our graveyard to our hand. And Snowbell, I believe, special summons itself? Yeah, if you control 2 or more wind monsters and no wind, and no non-wind monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So, like, I feel like the combo potential here is, like, really big. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where it actually goes. But then again, like, where are the other skills, right? Where's my Dogmatica skill? Because, like, some of these are fine. Like, Spiral leading to the champion is, like, fine, right? You cannot normal or special summon, except for spellcasters and warriors with 200 defense or level 5 dragons, and Aquas with 2000. It's very hyper specific. During a main phase, we just get to cheat out a catapult turtle, which is nice. And then its effect lets us tribute a monster to special summon a Gaia the Fierce Knight or a level 5 dragon from our hand or deck. We can use effects once per turn, so we can get rid of itself and then just immediately get out one of our guys. Then if your opponent controls more cards than you do, so we have to already be down on cards, which can be difficult if we're going second. Add Polymerization from outside of your deck to your hand and play a Dark Magician from outside of your deck. So we get to basically +2. And because of this second effect, we'll already have access to the Gaia, which gives us our full fusion. But I think it was Marco before who was saying that we could go into like the Boral fusion and then use that as like a quick effect pop, but that's still like, that's so many resources. I'm not sure about that. 20C might be tight for... 20 card might be tight for Wind Witch Voids. Yeah, I think it's going to be way too tight, right? Gaia Honk Shu Mimi Bedge. What does that even mean, Serena? I can't even begin to break down that sentence. I don't even know where to start. But welcome on in, Serena. Then we have Time Thief Crossbeat. You can use this skill's second effect once per turn, twice per duel. At the beginning of the duel, add a Time Thief redo from the extra deck. During this turn, you cannot normal or special summon monsters, excluding special summons from the extra deck, any monsters except for Time Thief monsters. Reveal a Time Thief Psychic monster or a Time Thief startup from your hand, then add Time Thief Machine monster or Time Thief startup from your deck to your hand. If your opponent controls no cards, shuffle 1 card from your hand into deck. So basically, if we're going first, we have to lose a card. If we're not, it doesn't matter. Again, no one understands Serena. I'm not really sure what you want me to say to that. I see you, I foresee you. Like, I'm a very simple British man. There's not really much more to it than that. Speaking Philippine. I see. Catapult Turtle, shoot! I mean, who doesn't love Catapult Turtle? But this was the other thing, is I was predicting, because we got a load of these cards leaked for the Gaia stuff, there is a bunch of Gaia stuff in Rush. And since we thought we were getting fusions in October, in my mind, it makes sense to do like a cross promotion of release some of the stuff, the Gaia stuff in Rush and the Gaia stuff in Speed at the same time. We didn't get that. We're not getting fusions for a while, it seems. And they're just releasing this Gaia stuff a lot earlier than the Rush stuff. I don't know. I was like, it's a slam dunk to just release it all at the same time, but apparently just not. And then there's this Rush skill, which is so very mid. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. The whole Rush like angle here just feels so This structure deck is so bad. Like, it's gonna be so bad. So one thing we will say is Gigatech Wolf is half of a fusion. That's neat. How well that's gonna work is up for debate. I don't think we're gonna get the fusion for a very long time, but it's nice to have it out, I guess. The Sidra skill of all time. Go Rush main box Gaia support Rush. I doubt it somehow. I feel like this is all weird. So Cyber Entry locks us into only attacking with light monsters. Grand Cerberus only burns based on our Earth monsters. And then another unique card we're getting is Gigatech Wolf that is neither a fire nor, or is a fire, is neither a light nor an Earth monster. It is actually a fire monster. I'm like, how much anti-synergy do they want to put in this deck? Hello, Shui. Welcome. It's gonna be like that other EX trash structure. I mean, probably. There's a lot of them, though. Even more useless than that, but at least the deck will become stronger in the future. You are not speaking of best across. So, the biggest annoyance for me is anyone that wants to play Cyber Dragons in the future is going to want to pick up this deck because you want Cyber Dragon. Right now, there's no other reason to get it. No one's going to play Grand Cerberus, realistically. I mean, maybe, like, you do something with this card. Having 2,000 less life points, again, does make burn a little bit better, as we got to see with Noodles. We're not going to play any of these cards, realistically. Like, we're not going to be playing Cyber Dragon even, right? The only way we would play Cyber Dragon would be in this deck exactly, because it's limit 3, as we've seen up here. So I don't know. It's weird. It's very strange. It's very strange. I don't really know what this is for. This deck seems like a waste of time. But we're going to want these cards eventually. Like, these 3 cards eventually are going to be good. This is always going to be garbage. Unless we get, like, a Labyrinth Wall skill. Because if anyone doesn't know, I believe it's Labyrinth Wall's Gigatech Wolf. So if we look up Giga. Yeah, it's half the fusion for Labyrinth Tank. It's this and Cannon Soldier. We don't have Cannon Soldier yet. But we'll get it eventually. Obviously, Cannon Soldier is a lot worse in Rush than it is in Speed because every effect in Rush is a soft once per turn. So we can't just blast our entire board at our opponent with Cannon Soldier. More new cards than revealed Trust. I'm pretty sure that's not how this works, though, Ursus. I'm pretty sure this is everything that's in the code. Like, and this is all we're going to get for new cards. I'm like 90% sure. They basically put machines and call it a day for burning even the Fire Warrior Maximum Strong. I mean, yeah, I'm coping. Yeah, I mean, I kind of do want to burst your bubble, I'm not going to lie. But, and then we have these, you know, these lovely sleeves. They're fine. This is probably the best sleeve. I mean, who doesn't love a Cyber Dragon sleeve? God, what's the next best sleeve? Probably. This is like, this is cute, but also it's kind of, I can't actually see my mouse. The Yuto one is like, it's kind of cute, but also it's just like 2 stills of just 2 people next to each other. Cyber Dragon Core when? Never. Konami hates Cyber Dragon. We're never getting anything good with Cyber Dragon ever. This Sky Striker mat's also kind of nice. Obviously, you can't really see it because it's hidden by chat, but like, I think the Sky Striker mat looks really nice. Rose sleeves? Is it Rose or Rose? I've got to find out now. Does not have the... It's not an umlaut, I can't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure that means it's pronounced Rose. Pay to win mat, lol. Which one's going to be pay to win? Is it this one? Is this the pay to win mat? Oh, are we saying it's pay to win because in order to get all the cards, you need to go into the selection box? It's Rose, okay. Yuto and Lulu are so happy together. Hello, Globe. Yeah, it's part of me is like, they're cute together, but at the same part of me is like, we could have had unique art here rather than just this. Because this is just like, they're both in their standard poses. The background is also kind of a bit mid. It's just like colored balls with a plain white background and then like some lines connecting them. Eh. Striker will prob be money mat. So you reckon you're actually going to have to straight up buy this mat? Like, for, like real money, like microtransaction? SB and 3 different boxes. It's pay to win sleeves as you can get the mat, but not sleeves for free. I see. Graphic design is my passion. Color balls. See, Soromia knows what's going on. And then icons are nice. This is a bit busy for me. This Lyrilusk monster, I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. But. Now that we talked about all of that, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about Go Rush World, because Go Rush World, again, we did mention this a little bit at the start, but since there's a few more people in now, I will say again, this is almost certainly going to be the new world. We're almost certainly getting Go Rush, but there's still a chance that there isn't. There's been some little talkings going on that maybe it's not, and again, until it is officially announced by Konami, it's not confirmed. But we're going to pretend like it is because I feel like it's so close to being 100%, right? To be honest, the box is the only good thing about the leaks and the Go Rush ID, of course. I mean, what we have just said, though, is like most of the leaks, right? Like, it's basically then just the Cyber Dragon stuff that's bad. Yay, Go Rush World Legos. So, Go Rush... All right. I will say this. A lot of people are kind of dooming over Go Rush World. Go Rush World is fine. Realistically, we would get probably some cards that aren't going to be super strong, because the cards that were initially released during the Go Rush era were a bit mid. So to put this into perspective, the very first Go Rush box that we got had Seven's Geass in it. And Seven's Geass became like one of the strongest decks in the game for... I mean, to be fair, Seven's Geass didn't actually like pop off until Seven's Wonder Fusion came out. But there were a lot of reasons as to why the Go Rush decks didn't like super pop off right at the start as Go Rush came out. So like, we expect some announcements this weekend for Worlds. Yes, we're expecting something at Worlds, because I believe Rush was announced and Seven's World was announced at Worlds and not Tokyo Game Show. I believe Tokyo Game Show is where they announced Master Duel, Cross Duel, and the other 2 things. I can't remember what the 2 things were. It was maybe a Rush Switch game? I can't remember. There were like 4 announcements at Tokyo Game Show before. That was the year before. You are not talking about Jointech Rex. Right. So Jointech Rex, I will say... Right, let's start at the beginning. Will DK stream New World again? Who knows? It's not as exciting as like a brand new box or a brand new game mode coming out, right? But first things first, we're going to talk about Galaxy Monsters. So, this is the main character of Go Rush, is like signature card. This is, I guess, arguably his junk warrior. This is his flame wingman. This is his, not his actual ace, but like his secondary ace, right? And this is Transamu Rhynak. And there's a couple of things to really take note of here. First off, as Quantum is already seen, 1600 attack. This was a huge deal when it first came out. 1600 is obviously power creep. But for the longest time, it's just this card, right? This is the only 1600 for a long time, at least when it initially came out. The next thing you might notice is that this is a vanilla, and having an ace monster be a vanilla is a bit weird. That's because a lot of the Light Galaxy monsters are all about being normal monsters and having support for normal monsters, which initially was kind of a bit shit, but as we went forward into fusions, became really, really cool. So initially, kind of mid. Eventually, kind of good. The other thing is, all of the Galaxy Light monsters have very fun flavor text. And this is usually like the catchphrase that the main character will say as he's like attacking with the monster. So he'll be like, Transamu Rhynak, attack directly. Like, end this game. War to Zen, maniac, you die. And obviously, naturally, he says it in English because that's cooler, right? It's fine. What I think is more interesting with this card is this card itself has a ton of support released for it. So we could theoretically see some support cards released alongside these cards to make them good. Now, one of the things we will always say is generally in the past, almost always, there are exceptions, but generally you will see decks have a way to beat set 3 pass. Now, this deck initially could have them. There are a couple of cards that they could release to let them like be allowed to do so. We'll have to see what actually happens there. This is a child's game. Awesome, true, good night. 1600 attack monster is an ace. Again, it's not like his ace. Like he has an actual level 7 monster, but like this is like one of his initial ones. Galaxy Beatdown, best deck. Beatdown only works with level 1 vanillas. I mean, for now, right? Galaxy Noodle, best deck. So this is one of its support cards. This is Transamu Jerai, and this is a card that potentially could come out relatively early. So if we have a face-up monster with 1600 or more attack on our field, we can send the top card of the deck to the graveyard. This turn, one face-up level 4 light attribute galaxy-type monster on your field can make up to 2 attacks on monsters. So obviously, if we have Transamu Rhynak, it fulfills all of the conditions, so we can activate it, and we can target it, and then it can just attack twice. Multi-attacking is always going to be good, because it means we can then have a third attack, ideally, be able to get to our opponent's life points. The only downside is this guy's only got 1000 attack, so she herself might not be able to clear a monster. So there is that, right? Ground Cerberus with Joint Tech. I mean, if we get a good Earth Machine skill, potentially. Another card we could get is Transamu Raika, and I believe this card actually came out in the very first wave of Galaxy support, which means this is kind of likely to come out. So this is send one card from your hand to the graveyard, very steep cost, we don't really want to be discarding cards. Choose one face-up light attribute galaxy-type monster on your field. If it attacks a defense position monster this turn, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. Also, if you have Transamu Rhynak face-up on the field, you can change the battle position of one face-up monster on your opponent's field. So if we're able to change a battle position as well, that discard becomes a lot better. Now we can change our opponent's monster to defense mode, then basically attack over it with Rhynak, as long as that monster has lower than 1600 defense, which can be pretty good. So this is a double whammy, right? This lets us get over low defense, high attack monsters, as well as give us that piercing. The only downside, again, is kind of weak stat at only 1000, and we have to give up a card from our hand. But again, potentially this could come out. Then we have Transamu Epherai, and this is the kind of last big Transamu Rhynak support card. But if your opponent has a monster on their field, we can send the top card of the deck to the graveyard. One face-up Transamu Rhynak on your field gains 1000 attack until the end of this turn. Now, if you're able to somehow combine all of these cards, we can make our Transamu Rhynak have plus 1000 attack, so he's 26. We can have him attack twice, and we can give him piercing. Now, getting all of that off is going to be quite difficult, because we'd have to get rid of one of these cards to summon out something else, and maybe we have to tribute over them to make room. But, like, there is potential, right? The Cyburst counter. I mean, yeah, basically. So then we'll move on to the primary boss monster of the main character, and that is Galactica Oblivion. So, immediately you're probably going to be like, this is a bit of a downgrade. This is a vanilla boss monster that has Yami Ruler's stats and is a level lower. And yes, it is. This card on its own, not very good. Again, flavor text, War to Zen, awesome, true, good night. So, You know, who doesn't love that? But, again, on its own, not very good. We will talk about this again in a bit, but this card will eventually also get several fusions, and one of them is really, really good. Like, we're probably not going to talk about it too much today. I don't think we've even, like, got it opened up, but we'll take a quick look at it, I guess. Eternal Galactica Oblivion is what we're looking for. So we'll talk a little bit about this, because this card is really strong. Can't see it super well. We'll just open it up in a new tab. That'll probably be easier. So when we do get this fusion, again, it becomes really, really strong. So first off, again, we're kind of peeking into the future a little bit because we're not expecting to get this anytime soon. But Light Galaxy monsters are basically one of the only... It's very rare in Rush that you get non-specific fusions. So where this says 2 Light Attribute Galaxy type monsters, that was a big deal when this card came out because almost every other fusion was like specifically this and specifically this. So Light Galaxy became the like, oh, you can just fuse anything into anything. So as long as you have Galactica Oblivion and then any 2 Light Galaxies, you're good to go. Then we can shuffle 5 Galaxy monsters from our graveyard into the deck, send the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. This turn, this card cannot be destroyed by trap cards. Very, very important because at the time, Mirror Force was a card. We had so many traps that pop monsters, including Dark Revelation was obviously still a big card. So very, very important. And then this card gains attack equal to the number of monsters in your graveyard times 300. And this would quite often hit like 7,000, 8,000 attack. Then if we just give this guy piercing with, for example, a Transamu Riker, we can then slam in and get in for an absolute crap ton of damage. So very, very powerful. The only problem was this deck had like a few stints of like, wow, it's actually pretty good. And then would kind of drop off a little bit, but still very, very strong. Galactica Oblivion, Darkness Galactica Oblivion. And we'll talk about that, I mean, not today, probably. The next card we're going to talk about is Transamu Crayon, or Crayon, Crayon? I don't know how to pronounce this card, but obviously its stats are terrible, 500 attack, 500 defense. If we have no other monsters on our field, we can add a light attribute Galaxy type normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. This turn you can only attack with Galaxy monsters. Now, notably, this card is really good because we can take back Galactica Oblivion, or we can take back Transamu Rhynak. We can take back any of our normal monsters. So it is a plus, basically like a Seahorse Carrier type effect, but we can just grab a boss monster or a 1600 beta or just a body to be tributed off. Like, it's really good. So, again, it could probably come out with the first wave of Galaxy and be completely fine. Then we're going to talk about a really, really good card. This is Galactica Jamais Vu. This is a card that when it came out was being splashed into everything. This card was put as a 1 or a 2 of into like every deck because it was just that good. So if you have no other monsters on your field during the turn that we summon this card, we can shuffle 2 spell cards from our graveyard into the deck to draw a card. So just a free +1 is always good in Rush, as well as being able to put spell cards back into your deck is very, very rare. So this card just seemed like an all-around fantastic card. Plussing is good. It's just a free draw. Putting spell cards back in the deck is good. It's amazing. So I don't know if this card would come out. This, to me, screams generic staple, and thus screams to me selection box. So this, to me, is selection box bait, but we'll have to see what Konami decide to do with it. Then we have Galactica Amnesia. This card was relatively popular when Galaxy first came out. Hey, who did you pick for the prediction campaign? Quantum ? Oh, you know, maybe we'll reveal that at the end of the stream. Maybe we'll reveal who we voted for right at the end. We'll have to wait and see. But this is Galactica Amnesia. And again, this card was seeing some play at the very, very start of Go Rush, but not a ton. So its stats are kind of weak. 1600 attack, 1500 defense for a level 6. We can place 1 card from our hand on the bottom of our deck, special summon 2 level 6 or lower Galaxy type normal monsters from our graveyard face up to our field. This turn we can only attack with Galaxy type monsters. So you're probably like, that doesn't seem very good. You can just get 2 level 6 normal monsters. That's kind of whatever. And the monsters we'd get would be Heaven Gansel, which is a 2100, or just the flat out worse version, Silver Safer. It has higher defense, but 100 lower attack. So like, I could see an early version of this deck having some sort of skill that boosts normal monsters, sort of similar to the, what was it called? The Servant of Dawn skill, and just having a way to like buff these up and having some sort of like level 6 beatdown strategy with Galactica Amnesia. That wouldn't surprise me. So, like, there's potential we see that. But realistically, none of these cards see any play anymore, so these very short-lived. They need a skill to realistically do much of anything, I think. Then, we'll go on to some spells. We have Universe Storm. Oh, would you look at that? It is generic back row destruction. And everyone has one of these. There's not really much to say about it. If we have a face-up Galaxy type monster on the field, we can destroy a spell trap. It's fine. There's nothing, like, super crazy about it. Oh, what we do need to do, though, is... Oh, we'll have to do that in a bit. No. Sort of set up. We have to blow our nose. One sec. Hey, we made it. Alright, so it's a cool looking card. The artwork is so pretty. Yeah, it's a very cool looking card. But again, there's not really much to say about it. It's back row hate, right? Then we have Meteor Charge. And this is another card that came out at the very, very beginning of Galaxy's lifespan and did see a little bit of play at the start. So we can choose a face-up Galaxy type monster on your field. If it attacks defense position monster, inflicts piercing. So it's pierce. And then also, if the chosen monster is a normal monster, you can change the battle position of one monster on your opponent's field. So once again, we get to change a monster's battle position and then pierce over it. So this is another anti-Cyburst card. We'll change their big boss into defense mode and then slam into it for 2,500 damage with a Galactica Oblivion. So, pretty good. Congestion meta. Hello, Justin. Welcome on in. Then we're going to talk about Galactica Force. This was another card that came out in like the very first wave. Shuffle 3 Galaxy type monsters from our graveyard into the deck. All face-up Galaxy type normal monsters on your field gain attack equal to the number of face-up normal monsters on your field times 300 at the end of the turn. So this is basically just going to be like a 900 attack boost to 3 of your guys. It's nothing like special, but it's fine, I guess. It's okay. Probably wouldn't really see play. I don't really think you'd be able to fit this card in your deck, so maybe it's not too important. Then we'll talk about some of the traps. Traps are so difficult, right? Because Rush is always in such a weird place for me when we keep just not having trap cards introduced. We are behind on so many trap cards that exist in the game that we should have gotten by now, but we just haven't. And the reason is because Konami is kind of scared of them, because some of the trap cards can be really, really good and can slow the game down. So trying to predict what trap cards we're going to get is really awkward. But Nebula Power has some potential. When your opponent normal summons a monster, one face-up Galaxy type normal monster on our field gains attack equal to the number of monsters on your opponent's field times 500 until the end of this turn. So potentially we could gain 1500 attack on a normal monster. I mean, that could potentially give us a 4000 attack Galactica Oblivion, so our opponent will have a difficult time getting over it. Then there's Galactica Lattice. This is very similar. When your opponent normal or special summons a monster, change up to 3 attack position Galaxy type normal monsters on your field to face-up defense position. Then all face-up monsters on your field gain defense equal to the number of face-up Galaxy type monsters on your field times 500, which means we can change 3 Galaxy monsters to face-up defense and then give them all an extra 1500 defense, which might keep them around. Again, it's nothing particularly exciting, but it's something. And then there's Strange Wall, which is just when your opponent's monster declares an attack while you have a Galaxy type normal monster in your graveyard, the attacking monster loses 500. We've already seen this. We've got what, like Curtain of Sparks. We have the Machine slash Thunder version of this card as well. Nothing particularly exciting, but we thought we'd mention it. And then we'll get into some more interesting trap cards. So this is Transamu Lightning. When an opponent's monster declares an attack targeting your face-up level 4 or lower Galaxy type monster, the attack target cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. So this potentially means we can keep like Transamu Rhynak just around and just not die or get to like just keep the monster for the rest of the turn. So like I could see this card coming out because I don't think this card's particularly broken, but like it's a bit weird. Then we get Dead or a Rhynak. So when your opponent's monster declares an attack, we can gain 800 life points, then draw 1 card and show it. If that card is a Galaxy-type normal monster with 1600 or more attack, negate the attack. Again, it's a very strange card. Never really seen any play, which is why it could probably come out. It's just weird. But you still take the damage. Exactly. Then we have Transamu Arrive. This card did actually see a little bit of play. When a face-up Galaxy-type monster on your field is destroyed by your opponent's attack or their card effect while you have no other monsters on your field, special summon a Galaxy-type normal monster with 1600 or more attack from your graveyard or hand to your field of face-up attack. So we can use this to get back our Galactica Oblivion, which is obviously going to be really good. The only problem with this is there are, again, a load of trap cards, especially some monsters from the graveyard, that we still haven't gotten, right? We still haven't got our Disco Ball for Mimi. We still haven't got Cuckoo Clock for Night Vision. There's like so many cards, especially some from the graveyard, that we still don't have. So I don't know if that's going to come out. And then we get to one of the biggies. So this is Vacuum Annihilation. So when your opponent's monster declares an attack where you have a face-up level 7 or higher Galaxy-type normal monster on your field, destroy attack position monsters on your opponent's field up to the number of face-up Galaxy-type normal monsters on your field. So this is kind of Mirror Force with extra steps. So this is a card that we're almost certainly not going to get. At least not at the start. But this was a card that was released pretty much with Galaxy. And again, this wasn't super big for the time because we already had Mirror Force. We already had Dark Revelation. So at the time, people were like, oh, this is fine. I guess they get one as well. But like, it didn't even see like a ton of play, which is weird to say considering in Duel Links this card would be everywhere. Then we'll talk about some cards that I'm not a big fan of. So this card is what made Galaxy decks kind of okay when they first came out. And that's because Secret Order is really strong. Special summon one level 7 normal monster from your hand or graveyard face up to your field. This turn, the special summon monster gains 700 attack and cannot be destroyed by traps. So just being able to get out your Galactica Oblivion from your graveyard or your hand, 700 extra attacks, so it's 32, and can't be popped by trap cards, is really good. It's really good. So Secret Order is a card that has been on and off the ban list several times. Realistically, I think this card will be immediately limited. As to what it will be limited to, I don't know. If this card does come out, I expect this to be limit 1, probably, maybe limit 2. But Secret Order is just very, very powerful. And we can't talk about Secret Order without talking about Parallel Birthgate. What was it called? Gate Order was the name of a deck that would basically play around 12 level 7 vanillas, and then just basically use Parallel Birthgate and Secret Order to cheat those monsters out. So this card is send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Then if you have no cards in your hand, you can special summon up to 2 normal monsters from your graveyard face up to your field. So you basically just play a deck that's just a bunch of level 7 vanillas and then start spamming them out as much as we can. It's not a particularly fun deck. It wasn't a particularly fun meta when these cards were seeing play. I really hope that both Secret Order and Parallel Birthgate do get limitations put on them. But what I could see is maybe turning them into a skill. Like, I could see like Udius coming out with just a skill called Secret Order that just does this like once per duel or something. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. And that would potentially make his Galaxy cards actually not too bad. We'll have to see what happens with that. But then we'll move on to the next character, and this is Yuhi's boss monster. This is Jointech Rex, and Jointech Rex is pretty cool. This is a card, we did speak about this a little bit earlier, but Jointech Rex is a card that did see a lot of splash play. So the Jointech deck has never really been very good, but Jointech Rex itself is generic, so people would just splash one copy of this in their other decks. That's not going to be as doable in Duel Links because a lot of the skills have restrictions that say we can't do that, but we'll see what happens. Or just put one copy in the level up reward. I mean, that is potential as well. But during the turn that we normal summon this card, we can shuffle 3 monsters from our graveyard into the deck. Again, does not have to be machines, so this is easier to use than something like Mirror Innovator. Destroy 1 card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone. So just 2500 attack that pops a back row and recycles stuff back into your deck. This card does everything. It is so, so good. The only real negative of this card is 1, it's Earth, and there isn't as much Earth support. And 2, it's only got 1500 defense. And 1500 defense, like, it's not bad, but it could be better. Such a goofy looking card. I love it. All of the Jointech cards are so amazing. So there's like 2 or maybe 3 waves of Jointechs, and the dinosaur ones are my favorite. Personally, I really like the dinosaurs. There are also some insect ones which come out when they get access to their fusions, but those are less interesting for me. So then we'll talk about Jointech Hero. So this is a lot more modern. This did not come out with the first wave, but its effect is weak enough. I think it probably could just come out and be fine. So it's again 2500 attack, which is quite nice. During the turn, you normal summon this card by tributing Jointech Ace. We can send the top card of the deck to the graveyard. And Jointech Ace, by the way, is this. Which is just a 1500 vanilla. So nothing particularly exciting about it, but if we tribute it using that 1500 vanilla, we send Top of that to the graveyard. This card gains 1500 attack, so it goes up to 4000. Then we can add an Earth Attribute Machine type monster from our graveyard to our hand, which most of the time is going to be the Joint Tech Ace again. I would kind of like to see Joint Tech Hero come out earlier, because Joint Tech Hero has never really seen much play, so I would like to see it come out in Duel Links and actually be good, because I think that would be quite nice. This effect, if it came out right now, wouldn't be like super busted, but would be decent. It would be playable, right? So I would like to see it personally. If it's limit 3, it's fine. Morphtronic at home, I mean, kind of. And then there's obviously just the 1500, and then we're getting some of the other boss monsters. This is Jointech Tinplate Saurus. Send a card from our hand to the graveyard, change the battle position of one monster in your opponent's field to face up defense position. Then that monster loses 2000 defense. So this is basically really good at just being able to clear anything. Its weakness, obviously, it only has 2300 attack. We do have to give up a card from our hand. This card is a little bit shaky. This card never really saw a ton of play. Its requirement is a bit steep. And on our opponent's turn, it's only a 2300 monster, so it dies quite easy. But it could come out, right? Then we're going to talk about one of their trap cards, Jointech Bunker. Now, some people might read this card and think, isn't that just Mirror Force? And it kind of is. So when your opponent's monster declares an attack, shuffle 3 machine-type normal monsters. Again, normal monsters. This is... Early Go Rush has a lot of normal monster support, and I'm not really a big fan of it. But basically, this would only see play very early on, because as soon as we get the later Jointech cards, we just don't play normal monsters anymore. But we put them into the deck, and then we can destroy up to 3 attack position monsters on the opponent's field. So again... This card's not going to come out because we don't have any trap cards that do anything meaningful right now, other than Slime and Legends. So, Jointech Maximum, day 1, let's go. The Jointech Maximum is so weird, and it's so RNG. We might talk about that in a bit. So the next trap card we're going to talk about is Jointech Great Wall. When an opponent's monster normal or special summons... When your opponent normal or special summons a level 7 or higher monster face up, while you have a face up level 7 or higher Earth Attribute monster on your field... This turn, up to 3 Earth Attribute Machine-type monsters on your field gain 300 attack and cannot be destroyed by battle. It's fine. Later off now. Alright, see ya, Dragson. Thanks for stopping by. Again, it hasn't really ever seen play. Will probably come out at some point. Is less impactful than something like Bumper. And then we have Jointech Ignition. This is a trap card that definitely won't come out. And this is when an opponent's monster declares an attack targeting a face-up Earth Machine monster. The attack target cannot be destroyed. Then if we have a face-up level 7 or higher Earth Attribute Machine monster, we can destroy the attacking monster, which is pretty good. Yeah, the duel against Epoch was fun, and of course Epoch was just lucky with all those 6s. Oh yeah, it was entirely just luck. Definitely not cheating. So now we'll talk about the third character, and this is Yuamu's boss monster. This is Bluetooth Burst Dragon. So Bluetooth Burst Dragon is a bit weird. So we can send the top card of the deck to the graveyard. That's fine. Destroy all face-up monsters with 1500 less attack on your opponent's field. That's fine, right? If people are playing 1500 vanillas, we'll get rid of them. Then this card gains attack if the number of monsters drop its effect times 300. That's also fine. The issue is, it's not very good without popping bosses. So, Bluetooth? Yes, hello Gonchi, welcome on. A Tamabot support with the card trader, please. Oh, could you imagine? We probably will get that, to be honest. But this card... at launch was not very good. And the reason being, again, it only pops whips. And if we can't pop anything, we can't gain the boost to attack over other 25s. So it was a bit naff. Bluetooth going to hurt Aquastocks? It definitely could do. But, again, we can play around that. If we only play Canans and play the field spell, we just get over Bluetooth, and then Bluetooth can't do anything. What's next? Wi-Fi slash Dragon? I mean, kind of. You're not in the wrong ballpark. So, we did eventually get this card release, which made Bluetooth good. This card, on its own, made Bluetooth amazing. So, Lightwave Dragon. Send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Up to 3 face-up monsters on your opponent's field lose 1500 attack during this main phase. So, we reduced them down. So, we can use this on a Blue Eyes White Dragon, put Blue Eyes down to 1500 attack, and now we can pop Blue Eyes with Bluetooth Burst Dragon. This was the absolute perfect support to go alongside Bluetooth. So I don't think we'd necessarily get Lightwave Dragon immediately, But I could see us getting a Yuamu skill that does reduce the attack of your opponent's monsters, but only during the main phase. So that we can just use Bluetooth effect and have it not be completely useless. And maybe it will like flip one of your opponent's face down monsters face up as well, because then that will also let us beat set 3 pass, which would be kind of nice. So there's potential there. Then another one of her boss monsters that she eventually gets is Red Boot Boost Dragon. So this card is very interesting. Only 2400 attack, which is a bit weaker. But we can choose up to 7 dragon-type monsters in our graveyard. Inflict damage to our opponent equal to the number of chosen monsters times 100. So a maximum of 700 burn. Then this card gains attack equal to the number of chosen monsters times 100. So again, it can gain 700 attack, putting it up to 31. And then we shuffle the chosen monsters into the deck. So this can burn our opponent for 7, boost its attack up to 31, and then attack over. It's fine. Both this and Bluetooth eventually do get fusions. So this is why it's kind of one of the other ace monsters. And there is kind of a dragon burn deck that does use Red Boot and its fusion to just keep burning your opponent. So we could see that come into Duel Links as well. Then there's Beta Burn Dragon, which is kind of, again, goes on to the burn kind of mini theme. So if you normal summon this card this turn and have another face-up dragon on your field, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of monsters on their field times 100. So this can only ever burn for 300. I mean, there's not really much to say about this card. Burning for 300 is fine, I guess. There's not really anything stand out. It's got 1400 attack, which is kind of nice for an effect monster. Yeah. And then there's SSD Drake, and you've probably noticed by now, as we've seen here, Wi-Fi / Dragon, is a lot of these cards they're like digital dragons. That's kind of the theming here. So this is obviously a solid state drive Drake, which is interesting. Fusion close-up cool dragon. If your opponent has a monster on their field, we can send 1 spell trap from our hand to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 4 or lower dragon-type normal monsters from our graveyard to our field in face-up defense. So this is nice. It basically acts as a +1 because we have to give up a card and we get 2 cards. So that's fine. It's normal monster support again, which is, again, something that we just see a lot in Go Rush at the start, which is not great. But as soon as we get over that first hump, the cards start getting really good. So now we'll talk about our 4th character, and this is Manabu's Chemicalized Salamander. And Manabu is a Pyro player. And this is the reason why a lot of people theorize that we didn't get Sabu Ramen as a playable character, because we're going to get Manabu, and he's going to be the Pyro guy. Where HDD Drake? We have HDD something. I'm sure we had HD something. Do we not have HDD Drake? We had... Is there another SSD? No. There was another one which was like... something similar. It wasn't the Hyperdrives. I can't remember what it was called, but there's like... a lot of the other cards in that archetype are all fusion support, so... it's weird how all of these dragons suit Yuamu, but they're not hers. All these dragons suit Yuamu. Well, they are hers, right? Or are we talking about because Yuamu uses Yuhi's deck? Anyway, this is Chemicalized Salamander. So, shuffle 3 Pyro monsters from your graveyard into the deck. All face-up monsters in your opponent's field lose attack equal to the number of monsters in your opponent's graveyard times 100. So... It's interesting. Obviously, if your opponent is able to keep recycling their cards from their graveyard back into their deck, that reduction isn't going to be particularly big. The deck itself as well isn't super good at like milling your opponent, so it's like we don't really have any setup for this. So maybe we get a skill that puts more monsters in our opponent's graveyard. I'm not really sure how exactly that would work, but Chemicalized Salamander is pretty cool, and we could use this with Noodle Art Boot, right? And get 1 body back, and we could boost this attack by 600. So, like, I really, really like this card. And the main reason I like this card is the artwork. The artwork for this card, I think, looks so unbelievably good. I absolutely love it. Join Tech was originally Yuamu's, remember, and Yuhi swap decks. Yes. But this card's art, in my opinion, is, like, some of the best in Rush Duel. I absolutely love this boss monster. I think it looks so cool. Then we'll just talk about some of Manabu's other boss monsters. Oh, not boss monsters, other monsters. So this is Dynamo Might. It's not particularly impressive. During the turn you normal summon this card, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. So just a little bit of burn. Again, there's not much to say about it. You summon it out, you burn, you tribute it off to summon out a boss monster. That's kind of it. And in a similar vein, we also have Cremation Dog Nitro. During the turn that we've normal summoned this card, inflict 400 damage, but then we're locked into only attacking with Pyros. So again, not really much. It's just like mini burn. But mini burn still adds up. So like maybe there's something there. Then we have Scales of Flame, which is a spell card. We can shuffle one Pyro type monster from our graveyard into the deck. One face-up Pyro monster on your field gains 500 attack to the end of this turn. Then we can make a face-up monster on your opponent's field lose 500 attack. It's not very good. It's fine, I guess. I don't realistically think you'd find room for this in your deck. It's just not high impact enough. He looks like my wife, Salamangreat Gazelle. I mean, he kind of does. Maybe it's a weird little retrain, huh? You never know. Then we'll talk about this, the Noodle Art of Spicery. Again, this isn't a Manabu card, but I thought we'd just mention it quick. One face-up Pyro monster gains 300 attack and piercing. If we got a skill that, like, let us just add this card to our hand, this would maybe see some play. If it doesn't get exactly that, it probably won't. But there are going to be some Noodle cards we get later that do let you recycle this from the graveyard, so maybe we can do something with that. Some more examples of Yuamu cards with fitting names. App Lizard, Backup Wing, Capture Dragon, HDD. There we go, it's HDD. We had the dots in it, that's what it was. 100 Divine Dragon, and QWERTY Keyblade. Good old QWERTY Keyblade as well. That card never saw a ton of play, but it was really cool. Then we have a trap card for the Pyros. Fire Full Blaze Barrier. When an opponent's level 8 or lower monster declares an attack, while you have a face-up level 7 or higher Pyro-type monster in your field, send the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. All face-up level 8 or lower monsters on your opponent's field lose attack equal to the number of Pyro monsters sent to the graveyard by this effect times 400 until the end of this turn. So this is pretty good. Now, obviously, you could get unlucky and mill just a bunch of spell traps, but for the most part, you're probably going to hit monsters, and you're probably going to reduce them by at least 400, probably 800, and sometimes 1200. That's pretty good. Then a card we're almost certainly not going to get is going to be Chemicalized Despise. So when an opponent's monster declares an attack targeting your face-up Pyro monster, negate the attack. Then, if the attack target's level is higher than the attacking monsters, you can destroy the attacking monster. So this card is designed to be used with a maximum card, but it is a Manabu card. So we could get this card. At the same time, it does pop a monster, so we're not going to get it because Konami hate trap cards, especially trap cards that destroy monsters. So, for free. What are we talking about for free? Manabu Maximum, I think, is still one of the best looking cards in Rush, especially the Over Rush rare. It definitely is very appealing the way it looks. Called different types because of mixing chemicals. Yes, I mean, we'll take a quick look at it real quick. Volcalize Phoenix. So this is the maximum. We won't go like too much into it because we're definitely not getting this card too soon, but it's really cool, right? It's basically a guy that can pop 2 monsters, pops 2 back row, and then if we give it an equip spell, gains a load of attack and gets a load of protection. It's just such a cool boss monster. When we eventually get it, it'll be really strong. Negate and pop for free? Yeah. You gotta remember, like, Rush, when we get to Modern, has a lot more powerful effects. Again, I don't think we're going to get this card, but there is a chance, right? So I thought we'd mention it. And then we'll talk about the last little elephant in the room. So I think, assuming we're getting Go Rush World, we will release with either just Udius, Yuhi, and Yuamu, or we'd get Manabu as well. So that would be my prediction. We get the 3 or the 4. I've seen some people say that they think we're going to get Zuijo and the Dark Galaxy stuff. I think you save this for the first unlock event because he's the first antagonist in the same way that Nail was kind of, well, I guess the first antagonist was kind of Mimi, but she was kind of a joke antagonist. Then the second antagonist was Roa, and he was obviously an unlock character. And then the third antagonist was Nail, and obviously he was an unlock character. They were there in events. So I would expect Zuijo to be the first unlockable character. That's what I would expect. But this is Zuijo's boss monster. This is Void Villager Requiem. He also plays a Galaxy deck, but his are all Dark Galaxy, as opposed to Udius's Light Galaxy. Also, they're both super gay for each other, but that's for another topic, or a topic for another day. So Void Villager Requiem, 2500 attack's pretty good. We can send the top card of our deck to the graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the number of face-up Dark Attribute monsters on your field times 300 until the end of this turn. So it goes up to 900 extra attack, which is 34, which is okay. Then if your opponent has a face-up Light Attribute monster, so it directly counters Udius, because obviously he's playing Light, we get to gain an extra 600 attack. So all it does is gain attack, but 25 that can go up to 4,000 is pretty good. As well as the Dark Galaxy support cards are also pretty good. We're not going to go too deep into them because there's a lot of really good Dark Galaxy cards. But this is another deck that, as it gets fusions, becomes really, really powerful and gets really, really fun. Let's go Gay Rides. I mean, yeah, there is a very popular scene from Go Rush where they're in the middle of a duel, and then like it kind of cuts away to them both just being stood in a flower field, and it's very telling, right? Damn, so we're getting 2 effects per card zone now. I mean, kinda. But yeah, this is, you know, just a good card in general. So that's kind of it for everything we want to talk about with specifically Go Rush World. That is kind of the cards I think potentially could come out. We kind of went into some of the backstory, some of the cards. There are obviously some other characters, but I don't think we're going to get them, like Meeg-chan. I don't think we're going to get God, what's his name? Chapu? I can't remember what his name is. There's a character that's very early on in Go Rush that plays Meeg. But I don't think we're going to see him as a playable character. Damn, so we're getting 2. If we go by anime order how they appeared, Yuhi, Yuamu, and Udius at the start, then Manabu and Neanderstar. The only thing is Neanderstar doesn't duel for a very long time, so I wouldn't expect to get Neanderstar as a playable character early, if at all. Then Chupataro. There you go, Chupataro, that's what I was talking about. Again, I don't expect to get Chupataro as a playable character. Then Kawaii Tel, again, barely duels, so I doubt we're going to get Tel as a character. Then Mitsuko. Then Manya and Bocchi. Manya and Bocchi, I would love to see as characters. If I can't play as Bocchi, I'm going to be so sad. Because playing as Bocchi would mean, like, everything to me. I would play Bocchi every time I can. So for people that don't know, Bocchi is just, like, the best character. This is Bocchi. So this is Bocchi. Bocchi is a dog. But like everyone in Go Rush, Bocchi is an alien. Do we have any other pictures of Bocchi? Here we go. Bocchi in his like full alien form, when he pops out of his dog form. What's not to love about this guy, right? Why would you not want to duel as this guy, right? Yeah, later with Battle Morph for Neanderstar. Who didn't play more than 2 duels NPC? If the character was in the anime, Konami gonna put them in if they duel or not? I mean, yeah, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be playable, though. We've already skipped over some in Rush. Time for the dog deck. I can see him as an NPC. No! Not an NPC, he's important! You can play as a furry, sign me in. And he is an alien assassin, best boy. Yeah, he's just the goodest of boys. He is the goodest of boys. Yeah, I think a lot of the speed stuff is going to be really exciting. I personally am really looking forward to the Albaz Dogmatica stuff. Again, I'm still not sure what skill we're going to use for these, but I'm sure people will come up with something. Gaia, I hope ends up being good, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm sure the Lyrilla stuff's going to be good, and I'm sure the Windwitch stuff's going to be good. The Sky Striker buffs, I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know if we need those cards. The Time Thief stuff's probably going to be pretty cool. I do like the Magispector stuff, but like people were saying, I don't think it's going to be particularly good, and Gradle seems kind of whatever, right? You should wait for Neanderstar. Oh, did you want to have a look at Neanderstar as well? We can have a quick look at Neanderstar. So this is Neanderstar. Neanderstar is a cat. But as everyone probably has figured out by now, everyone in the show is an alien. So this is Neanderstar's human form. You don't need Rose. She's total bait. I mean, that's what I kind of expected. But yeah, we have Neanderstar and Bocchi, who are both cat and a dog aliens, I guess. But that's the entire show. The entire show is just aliens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all of this. I think as much as people would have much preferred to get like a Dual Chronicle world, and people would have liked fusions to come out a little bit earlier, I don't think Go Rush coming out is going to be the end of the world. And again, I still am not 100% convinced we're getting Go Rush this early, but we're like 95%. So I think it's going to be fine. Damn, they didn't even put the cat girl in Zexal in game. Not yet. There's still time. There's still time. Also, later on today, we do have the Starry Rush Cup, which is going to be exciting. Everyone loves Giran? Starry. Starry Rush Cup is on today, which is going to be pretty cool. Starts at 7 p.m. BST. God knows what that is for everyone else. That's going to be in like 3.5 hours. So if anyone wants to play in that, they should sign up. I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat. Brian with a G? Brian? Brian doesn't sound right. I'm pretty sure it's Giron, isn't it? It's pronounced like Brian, but with a G. That still doesn't sound right. Brian. Yeah, I also wanted to talk a little bit about Worlds. We want to talk just a smidgen about Worlds. So by now, all of these 8 competitors, including Quantum, who's in the chat, will have submitted their decks, right? G, not J. You say that like grain. So what? So Brian is still that. Yeah, J would be Dryan. So like the difference between J and G is not the issue here. Just call it grind. Yeah, just grind. That's how it's pronounced. Well, right, so with a G, it's Gryan, and with a J, it's Dryan. So Gryan and Dryan is still not... None of those still sound right. I'm pretty sure it's Giron. Anyway. So these people have obviously submitted their decks. Just call him racist. I was curious as to what decks people would have used. Obviously, Quantum already knows what decks he's taking. But I was thinking about what decks I would take to this. Since by the rules of Worlds, we each get 5 decks. Everyone gets 5 decks to take. But they have very specific restrictions on them. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer to take machines in some form. And probably the best way to do so is just going to be using the Yuga skill, right? So that's probably Yuga locked in. The next obvious one to me is probably Cyburst. Cyburst is still obviously a very, very strong deck. I think most people are probably going to take Cyburst because it's just that good. And that gives us a nail skill. Psychic, obviously, also just makes a lot of sense. It's performing very, very well right now. Bam, that's a Roman deck. Then we start getting into like the weird ones. I think the next obvious one for me is probably Royal Rebels. And that gives us a Rower deck. And that leaves us with our last deck, right? Magician Shuffle Machine to be able to bring 7 Sesso. I mean, that is a viable strategy, right? In the same way that you could use... oh God, what's it called? Mighty Gaze of the Sky Emperor to bring something else as well, right? To bring out a maximum deck. But I think I would just take those 4, and then that last deck is where stuff gets a bit funky. Blue Eyes Monarch as last. So Blue Eyes Monarch is a weird deck. So we come over real quick. We God, how do I even do this? Bookmarks. Do we not have it on here? It's annoying. Do I actually not have it? There we go, we'll grab that. Oh, we didn't mean to do that. Okay, if we jump over to our little list, we can see that Blue Eyes is doing, like, okay. But there is a deck above it that's performing a little bit better. Again, we have to take this with a pinch of salt because it's only performing better. Oh, it's not even really performing better. I guess it's kind of at the same. Yeah, probably Blue Eyes is probably the best, like, 5th deck, realistically. Blue Eyes Monarch shares Cyber Spell Trap. Oh, you're right. You're not wrong. I mean, you could, though, just take out Like, you could just put in, like, Dragon Bakrohei. That might still work to a certain extent. Like, the other options we've seen is, like, Resonance. We've seen that a little bit. Realistically, I think everything else is, like, too far down the list to really consider bringing. It also share Essel and Torero. But that's a problem where you're going to see those just shared an awful lot. Like, a lot of Psychic lists play Essel and Torero. Machine plays Essel. Cyburst doesn't play anything, so that doesn't really care. Royal Rebels doesn't play anything, so that doesn't really care. It's a weird one. That 5th deck is always a bit of a weird one. Worms. Worms has potential. I would be surprised if Jorfio doesn't take Worms. That man has been in love with the Worms forever. Obviously, we haven't really seen Worms doing much as of late. I think Jorfio did quite well with them in a Challenger Cup, but a Challenger Cup you can just do whatever, right? Parko, Noodle, Ice Arc. I wouldn't be surprised as well if a lot of the JP players brought Doodles and Ice Arc as well. JP loves their Ice Arc, and JP loves their Noodles. Japanese probably Resonance. I mean, that is another one as well. Japanese players also have been into Resonance. The players that were playing Resonance, though, during their big event, I believe was Squid and Ra, neither of which are actually going to Worlds. So we'll have to see what actually happens there. Because one of the guys going, Angry Angel, is known for playing Noodles. So, like, I would be surprised if he didn't at least consider taking Noodles. It's an awkward one. It's definitely an awkward one to decide what decks to take. It's not, like, an easy decision. But, it's going to be a weird one. It's going to be a weird one. I'm excited to watch, at the very least. I'm excited to see what decks people bring. And I'm excited to see what a lot of these wild cards bring. Because I have no idea what Zeta is going to play. I have no idea what Sun's going to play. I have no idea what Weiner's going to play. Right? So, with that in mind, I think there could be a lot of exciting, like, deck choices that we'll get to see. And I think with that, because we're kind of done with talking about everything we want to talk about today, and I don't really want to start playing now, I think we're probably just going to go ahead and end it here. Realistically, I think starting to ladder grind with only like half an hour before we're going to end the stream anyway is probably not a good idea. But we've had an absolutely lovely stream today. It was one of those weird streams where we didn't actually talk very much. So in conclusion, did you vote for Quantum? So I will reveal to you that I have 2 accounts. I have 2 accounts. I have a speed account and a rush account. And on one of those accounts, I voted for Quantum. I'll let you decide which one I voted for him on. But I wanted to make you play with no mat again. I still have no mat, I think. I'm pretty sure we still have no mat from when you gave us no mat, Sora. But we will be back again on Thursday, where we will probably be playing in the Angel Cup. There's the ads, just to ruin the outro. But we'll probably be playing in the Angel Cup. We will probably cast it after we're knocked out. We're gonna do the Quantum special and play in the tournament as we're casting it, basically, and see how that kind of goes. Does Quantum play Rush and Speed? Quantum Cubes does, I can tell you that much. So it'd be weird if he didn't. Especially since he's going to Worlds. Welcome back from the ads, everyone. Yep, we're just saying we're leaving. We're gonna be back on Thursday. We're gonna just play in Angel Cup, and then we're gonna cast it when we get knocked out. So as soon as we get destroyed, we can still watch the rest of it. So you're saying you don't believe in Quantum on one of your accounts? Well, what we're saying is we're putting 50% of our votes behind Quantum. I think that's quite a high percentage, personally, but I guess it's up for you to decide. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!